Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We are here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you. All right, hold on a second. What the hell? How did I... opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our show chat room via our Facebook page and on Twitter. All right, everyone, welcome to a restart of tonight's show. I was just talking to our guest right before the show, and he was a very experienced podcaster and media guy himself, and I was like, yeah, we do this live, and sometimes technical issues happen, which he's listened to the show before, and sure shit, it happens. I go to move a mixing box, a hardware mixing box, and it caused something to drop, and so for those of you that are tuning in that heard something happen. That's what it was. So I want to welcome to the show tonight our guest, Mr. Jason Swarr. Jason, how you doing? Welcome to Stu and Nunn Show.
Man. I'm still just digging that. Was it like a techno AC/DC going on?
Did you like that? Yeah, it's. I had another one going. I had a different one going for the first start, and it crapped out. But tonight's Stu and the Swarr Show because Toby is. As you guys know, Toby's in the Southern Studio, which is Austin, Texas, and ATX is under a little bit of stress right now with the weather. So he's not able to join. He is watching and listening. I'm assuming he's going to listen to the whole show. He'll probably help feed some chat in or do something like that. But Jason, I know you'll fill in, and we're going to have no shortage of stuff to talk about. So
yes, I gotta keep my temper on this. Though,
yeah,
some of the topics I know we're going to, I'm going to be like. Here
yeah.
We go.
Well, we always have Rob, our unpaid producer, check and say, is there anything you don't want to talk about, anything you're into? And we got all green lights with you, right?
I'm down.
Just kind of like when that ramp opens and you get that green light.
That's right. I've done that a few times. You're right. Yes. Yeah.
So
we're going no matter what.
That's right. That's right. And no jump counts until you step out of the off the ramp, because until then you're just turning circles. I want to welcome you. Show, as you guys can see, Jason is no stranger to podcasting. Show he's got a much more professional mic than I even have. Nice wall behind him, and we're going to talk all about Skill Set Magazine and and a great studio set up there. But yeah, Jason, welcome to the show. I want to make sure I plug our sponsors right up front. Of course, Veteran Outdoors, great nonprofit. Toby is, of course, one of the founders of, and has actually been out doing some stuff, getting some veterans on some phenomenal trips. That's why he's away. Commodity Outdoor Development Group, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, BooHammer.com, Gear for Grunts, all kind of Alpha Elite Performance, all great sponsors of our show, great friends. And after I got to study some of Jason's background and stuff, I could see that many of his guests on his shows and some of the same circles we run in,
Yes.
and from Matt Lamb and Deputy One Time and so many folks, Sheriff
Love
Lamb,
those guys.
yeah. So again, welcome to the show, and
Thanks,
thank you for coming on. You are I gotta ask you before we get into your military career. Your part of your bio is an '80s skate punk in West Virginia. I gotta say, I didn't know they had '80s skate punks in West Virginia. That threw me off a little bit.
It throws everybody off, man. Yeah, no, I grew up, 80s kid, right? Which, the more I look back as probably the best decade ever, man. If you ask me, I just, I've been through a few decades now. In fact, I turned 48 Monday, right? So I'm a little,
Happy
little
birthday.
seasoned. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep.
And, so, you think West Virginia, you think skating. That's especially or punk music and all that stuff. But I was cut from a different, I guess, cloth or whatever. And you can only hang out and make out with your sister so much. So I figured, why not get a hobby, right?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the only thing weirder than that is say if you were a surfer from West Virginia, that I would
that's a
have to
little
throw the BS flag on that one, right?
yeah.
But I heard, I don't know if you know this. Now, and my listeners, viewers may not know, but after you got out of prison and everything, O.J. Simpson moved to West Virginia. Did you know that?
No, I did not know.
Yeah,
that.
because they only have 3 types of DNA there, so that's why he moved there.
That's so good. I like it.
I had to go.
I haven't heard that one. I've heard a lot of, man. 20 years in the Marines, I've heard a lot of them, man. That was a good one. I'll put that one in the bank over here, man.
There we go.
That's good.
But yeah, so you grew up in West Virginia, skate punk.
Man.
I imagine a lot of the locals in your town probably gave you that evil eye. Do you have like the mohawk and purple hair and all that stuff?
It was a great, yeah. I had at one point I had mohawk. I had in the '80s you had this little thing like a schwap, right? Where hair goes on your face.
Oh, flock of seagulls.
Yeah, there you go, right? Yeah, so basically like that, right? And it was, you know what it did, man? You're right. I wasn't a redneck. I wasn't into that. I like to skate, and I just like the punk music. I like that culture, and I it was very few of us, by the way, but it maybe more than you think, but you know what? It made me tough. It made me tough because you fought, man. People didn't like you.
You were that different kid in the school. Yeah.
Yeah. You go to the mall. You're out there skating. By the end of the night, someone's going to test you, right? You know, or whatever. And that's why I laugh. I look at these Antifa punks, right? And I'm like, they're hitting guys with skateboards. I'm like, man, I was doing that back in 30 years ago, man. You guys, you ain't doing it all wrong, right?
And you were smart enough not to do it to someone's holding an AR.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that would have been bad. Or I didn't do it to cops. That was bad too. So, but it was fun, man. I was very anti-establishment. Once again, you're a rebel little kid. To the point where my family. I'm the only dude that's ever been in the military, right? So, and it was like, hey, they're all like teachers and good on them and all that stuff is great. I just couldn't take that path, man. But I was, I hated, I didn't hate the government. I hated politicians. I probably still do. But I love my country. I don't know. I'm a Reagan youth kid, I just dug that. And to the point where I'm just like, hey, I'm 18. Screw this. I ain't trying to go to college. I know I'd fail. I'd drop out or whatever. So join the Marine Corps, man, and it worked out.
There you go. Sporting the Ric Flair shirt tonight too, which is awesome.
16-time national or world champion, by the way. Right?
Before we get into it, we got a lot to cover. Growing up as a punk rocker in West Virginia, who was your number one? Who's like if you could put a top 1 or 2 bands in the punk era of the '80s? I mean,
well, I have to go with my Misfits because I'm having tattooed on my hand. So
Yes.
a diehard Misfits fan. Always been a diehard Misfits fan, but. For those who are punk guys, you're also gonna. I said Reagan Youth earlier. Another one, Circle Jerks. I mean, there's.
Wow,
tons
yeah.
of
You're not posing. You're calling up the real ones.
No. It was. I'm a diehard, and even I dive into the metal scene a little bit as well, man. I'm a big War fan and all this stuff. So some weird stuff out there, man. Which is
a little Norwegian death metal there. I could see.
Yeah, right. So I love that, but I'm a even to this day, I still when the Misfits get back together, I go watch them. They're out in LA. I would check them out. It was great. hope to see him again. I'm a fanboy, man. It's weird, but 48-year-old fanboy. But these guys, they carried me through. They carried me through war. They carried me through all that stuff, man. I just dug the music, and punk was cool because the songs are short. They're like 2 minutes long. And you probably have like 3 chords, and you just bitch about shit, and it's great, man.
Yeah, it makes it lets you get through a lot of your playlist when you're rolling out the wire, right? You can get through a lot.
Sure. Yeah, exactly, man. So it was good.
Yeah, so you went into the Marines in early '90s, right? Got in there, and how did you talked about why you went in the Marines, but how did you find that experience? Was there shock and awe? Did you get it? Was it what you thought it was, or was there a point where you're like, oh crap, this was? How do I back out of this?
Great question, because once again, I went in. I knew I'm going to boot camp. I don't know what that means. Whatever my recruiter told me. I actually signed up for. I was trying to sign up for the Army, and
well, you really messed up. You're like, where's the Army dudes at?
And I never forget, I was, so I was already kind of doing the paperwork, doing that little hanging out. The Army guy, the recruiter, would buy me lunch, and I was like, this guy's awesome. He bought me Burger King, or whatever. And then, and then I get a phone call one night, and it's this guy, Sergeant Williams. I'm from, United States Marine Corps recruiting. I'm like, whatever, bro. I'm already joined the Army, man. And he punked me out. He's like, you're gonna be a bitch, huh? I'm like, what? He goes, you're gonna be a little bitch and join the Army when you could be wearing these dress blue. And this did this great. I mean, it hook, line, and sinker, dude. Next day, I was down there, told the Army guy, I'm sorry, buddy.
Wow, that reverse psychology worked easy.
Oh. It was now I look back and I'm like, how was I that much of a sucker? God, that was too easy, man. But no, and sure enough, I signed up, and my initial contract was to be an audio visual specialist. I don't know what I want to do. I was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll, you might be combat camera. I'm like, whatever that means. All right. And then I went down. So I was like, cool. I'm supposed to go to boot camp like in August, graduate high school or whatever, go to boot camp in August. And then I take a trip to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I was down there maybe about 8 hours before I was already in jail, right? So a little public the deal, right?
On a putt-putt golf course, or possibly a go-kart track, one of the two at Myrtle Beach.
Pretty sure, yeah, pretty much the same thing. So I come back and I go, hey man, just to let you know, I got arrested, spent a day or two in jail down there. And my recruiter, man, I don't know what he did. He came back like about an hour later and goes, check it out, you're going to boot camp next or 2 weeks. I'm like, well, wait, I'm not supposed to go for another 2 months. He goes, you're going in 2 weeks and you're going open contract. I'm like, what the hell is that? He goes, man, no, you can get any job you want. I'm like, that's great. I'm like, just do it, man. Yeah, open contract, for those who don't know, it means wherever they need you.
Yes, for the good of the Corps.
Damn straight, right? So did that, man, and just straight up, man, went in, and I don't know what. I'm weird. I dug it. I dug the yelling. I dug the screaming. I dug the pain. I dug the, all that just chaos. And I just, I don't know. I thought it was cool. And then they gave me a job. They're like, you're going to be an air delivery specialist. I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm like, all right, dropping mail out of a airplane. That's cool. And then this is no shit. So you go through your infantry training, your Marine combat training, all that stuff at the boot camp. And then I never forget, they're giving out orders, and I got these 2 corporals who were like my, squad, whatever. They were, the instructors there, corporal and a sergeant. That's right. I'm sorry. And they come up to me and they're like, you're going to fucking jump school. I don't know if I can cuss too much, but they're going to jump school, and they punch me in the chest. I'm like, jump. I'm trying to do an acronym. I'm like, JUMP. What does that stand for? I have no idea. That sounds stupid.
Because by that point, everything in the military had acronyms. So you're trying to figure out what does that possibly stand for. Yeah.
100%. And that's how naive I was about the military. I watched Full Metal Jacket, Heartbreak Ridge, and that was as far as I went. Maybe a John Wayne movie back as a kid. And that's all I knew about it, right? So I'm like, jump school. So they give you a plane ticket. I got a bus ticket at that point. I went down to Fort Benning. Yep. And the second I saw those 250-foot towers at Fort Benning, I see all these parachutes. I'm like, oh hell no! I ain't jumping on an airplane. No, and then, of course, as a private, you're jumping out of a fucking airplane, right? And so yeah, man, I went right to jump school after that, and I found out air delivery specialist was me parachute rigger. So in other words, I'm going to pack parachutes.
You're going to trust other people's lives with your capabilities and packing a parachute.
I'm like, you guys don't know me. I'm just saying right now. You sure about this?
What part of the ASVAB test made him think, oh, this is the guy for that?
Right. I'm just like, okay, sounds great, man. So. Finished jump school, thought it was pretty cool. You know how it is. Yeah. You just fall on an airplane. You don't have any control over shit, really. They say you do, you don't.
I always tell people, jumping's easy. It's hitting the ground that's hard.
It hurts.
Right.
It hurts a lot, right? So, yeah, and then they send you to like I think it was Fort Lee, Virginia.
Fort Lee,
right?
Virginia, rigor school, yeah.
So you go to rigor school, and then which I'm like, once again, dumb, naive, and they start telling you start learning how to pack parachutes. It's easy, right? Just fold some shit up, put it in the bag, right? And then they're like, all right,
I think you may have packed some of mine. If that's fold some shit up, put it in the bag.
Yeah, pretty much. Final test is literally at this point you're jumping your own parachute. Man, dude, I've never been so nervous in my life because all the time
folding a lot more carefully.
Yeah. Well, it's after I already packed it too, right? I'm like, wait a minute, can I redo this? No. All right. So anyway, get through all that, which was cool, man. It actually, I found out that I was I was not a very good parachute rigger. I was bad, man. I was not good. But I eventually was attached to a recon unit, and I got to hang out with the recon guys, and I found out that I can suffer in silence better than anybody, right? I that is what I was probably meant to be and do. So after an enlistment, I lap moved, and I was into a 0321 reconnaissance Marine. And
that's a big jump. That's you're going into Hua country. That's a big jump right there.
It is a big jump, but I enjoyed it, man. Like I said, I remember I told you, like I said, boot camp, I enjoyed the yelling, I enjoyed the pain, I enjoyed all that shit. Where everybody else is crying, I was like, this is fucking awesome, man. This is crazy. I can't believe I'm getting paid for this, right?
You're like, I got beat up worse than this in high school when listening to my punk music.
Yeah, exactly. So and so that's what and don't get me wrong, man. I had a good time as a parachute rigger. I got to go to Somalia in 1993, like literally when the Black Hawk Down happened. I was on a deployment right outside. That was the best part, man. For those of you who haven't joined the military, I don't know if those are listening or whatnot, think about joining the military. Just know that you will not know shit your first 4 years. They would just tell you, and you just do it, right? And that was a great example. We're on ship. I'm telling tons of war stories. That's all right.
That's okay, man. We got nothing. We that's what this is about.
I was on ship, and then all of a sudden I see all the chaos happens, right? You're on ship, you're just on the West Point. We're actually supposed to go to the Persian Gulf. I don't know. I didn't even know where that was at, right? And so there's like all this chaos is happening.
You're just doing PT in the gym at the gym on deck or something. You're just like
100%. There's no internet. This is 1993. Yeah. No internet. You had pay phones or not these little phones, so you had to wait 4 hours to talk to anybody. So you didn't call nobody, right? Single. I didn't care. And they were like, hey, they said Rangers are getting killed. I'm like, oh no, what's going on? Right? And they're like, load up, we're flying into Somalia. We're going to Mogadishu. And I'm like, where's that? It's like I had no clue it was even in Africa. I didn't even know where we're at, right? I'm like, is that South America? What do I know? And they're like looking at me like, you're going to Africa. I'm like, which side? I got to write my mom. I got to tell her, literally, I spent 4.5 months in Mogadishu right after that, during that whole thing. And it was just like, I had no clue where I was at. And that's how it works, man.
You're like, I should have paid attention to that geography class in high school.
Right? Well, Somalia, the geography changes it like every week.
That's true.
Place, right?
Yeah.
So, but that was like my first, and it was cool because in the unit I was in, everybody gets cross-trained as a forward observer. It was a unit called Anglico, right? Air Naval Gunfighter Laser Company, right? And we actually never work with the Marines. We work with the Army more than anything, or foreign forces. And so we're all trained as forward observers. So it was cool. As an E3, I'm out there on a team running AC-130s in Somalia and doing stuff. And I think that was my taste. I'm like, look, my goal in life is not to just pack parachutes the rest of my life. One, I hated it. It was stupid. And two, I just thought I had a higher calling or a better calling, or in my opinion, Right. And then once my enlistment was up on that's when I kind of cross-decked over and took that different route, which I dug, so it was fun.
Yeah. So you got that. You were in the 1st Recon Battalion, and you did 20 years, right, before you retired.
Yes.
And during that time, you also were on the initial invasion in 2003 into Iraq, right?
Yeah.
You served in a unit alongside a good friend of mine, been on the show many times, Mike Scotty. Mike was a forward observer, right? FSO, yeah. I think lieutenant, and I think because you mentioned that you were in the unit that Generation Kill was done about. Right. I know he was in the sister unit. In fact, as you probably remember, I'm assuming Mike, made a documentary out of his stuff, right? He videoed a lot, and and Mike and I go way back, and he showed me a lot of that footage that didn't even make it, where he. Where he said, "Oh, this scene right here," and I'm like, "I remember that from Generation Kill." It's like, this is when we're going by those guys and all that kind of stuff. So when I saw that in your bio, I was like, another close connection, right? So
what a trip that was, because it was our first time we've ever seen that we had reporters embedded, right? Now it's everybody's got borders or what. I guess you got a cell phone. That's your reporter these days. Yeah. Anyway, so we had a dude from the Christian Science Monitor, which I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but okay. And they put him in like Alpha Company. And then he had this guy from Rolling Stone magazine that he was like the plague. Everybody knew this guy was a liberal. He's going to talk shit, whatever, right? So I remember being, and at that point I was a staff sergeant, and you kind of get now you know what's going on, right?
Right.
They're like, hey, this guy, we can't get rid of him for some reason. He has to stay with us. So we're going to rotate him between platoons and companies so much that he can't write down anything. He won't pick up anything, right? You got to be in for a while. So I was like, okay, good to go. Yeah, that didn't happen, man. So, so the second the war kicked off, they used recon battalion. If you watch the documentary or the miniseries, I would give it an 85% true.
Okay, that's kind of what Mike said too. Yeah, it was pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, and they used our unit as basically, just basically a heavy weapons platoon, and just vote me, General Mattis, that dude was insane out there, man. He would just say, hey, recon battalion, go through that town. Okay, we had no clue, and you go through and you get the shit shot out of you, and that was basically recon by fire, right?
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
All right, we know, don't go to that town.
Yeah, exactly.
So the whole time, this reporter is in this, in a vehicle with a bunch of E3s and one sergeant, right? And they forgot about him. They just left him in there for the whole war, right?
They never moved him. No one probably wanted him. No one said, "Hey, I'm ready to take the reporter dude." They were like, nope.
Right. The second we're getting bombed and mortared and shot at, we were like, fuck it, who cares? This is the guy in the back, right? He's going to die anyway. So, and so he stayed back there. And now you got to think, you're in for what, 4 or 5 months with nothing but just E3s, right? And one sergeant he was a cool guy, right? And so you're picking up all that you're not getting
dark humor, the stories,
wrote it all down. And then it came out with a book. It was called it wasn't Generation Kill. It was like anyway, it was something, right? A bestseller, New York Times bestseller. And everybody from about E7 up could not stand this guy because he told what really happened.
He told
right?
the truth, right? Which is kind of not always flattering, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So at that point, he tried to come on base when we were all back. They'd had the MPs escort him out, this and that. And then I stayed friends with him because he was okay with me. I didn't mind. He, nothing problem. And he's like, hey, man, HBO bought my book. And I'm like, oh, boy. I knew at that point. I'm like, here we go, man. And they filmed it. I actually went to the premiere with, guys like Rudy Reyes and all these, all those dudes. Which, don't get me down. I got a story about that dude down the line. It was crazy, man. Rudy worked for me for a while, and he's, for those who know Fruity Rudy, it's all true. It's all true. He's exactly like that in real life. Great guy though. But and then it came out, and it was like I remember watching it. And I was like, damn, man. I go, you guys almost got it right.
You were in one of the episodes, right?
I was episode 6. Yeah, I have a really interesting story on that one. It was, and I'll make it super short. So being that, remember I said earlier, I was the guy that was the expert call for fire,
right,
the close air support guy, right? Literally one day from crossing the LOD, they go, hey man, Staff Sergeant Swarr, you're going to take a comm guy and a lieutenant, and you're going to go down to Al Jabbar, and you're going to push air all the way through us to it. And I'm like, what do you mean push air? Like, yeah, you're going to be our liaison. You're going to give us air all the way to Baghdad. And I'm like, the fuck, I ain't doing that, but anyway, whatever.
You're going to do it.
Long story short, you do it, right? So I go down to Al Jabbar, and those are those in Kuwait. This is an air base in Kuwait where all our air assets were taken off. And I'm down there for maybe, I don't know, 12 hours. If I put my hand up like this, they would put a coffee pot, right? And so I can give it to generals and shit. So now I'm talking to my lieutenant he was nervous, new guy, I'm just like, we need to get the hell out of here. And he's just like, oh, we have to maintain it. Right? I don't have to do shit. I go to my comm guy. I'm like, you got comms with him? I'm like, well, kind of. I'm like, no, you don't. We ain't got no comms. You get what I'm saying? Oh, okay. So we're just like, we try to make it the worst scenario as possible, right? Hey, we're worthless here. So we hit up this, he was some worker, it's Pakistani, one of those guys or whatever.
Right.
He had a vehicle. And I told the lieutenant, we're out of here. We're going to go. And he finally agreed. I go, we're going to go to the LOD. We're going to find a unit. We're going to figure this out. We're going to meet back up with a recon battalion, right? So we hitch a ride all the way up to the border.
With a local national.
Correct.
In a soft skin commercial regular civilian vehicle.
White, your white technical
Corolla,
vehicle, right? Yeah,
something.
We're all back there, shit. Tennis shitting his bricks because he's just like, he knows we were in trouble. And I didn't care. I'm like, this is a war. We're going to die. It doesn't matter. Let's just do it, right? And we get up to the border, ghost town. Everybody's gone. I'm like, well, this was a bad move. I was like, all right. And then I look over about a mile down the road, you see dust. And I'm like, where's the unit? Let's just go. I don't care. We're just going to tag along.
So real quick, were you paying this guy? Was he like a cab? Was he like a Kuwait Uber? Like,
no,
or just like, dude, take us.
I'm like, you're going to take us. And he took us to a point where he's like, I'm not going any farther. I'm out. And we got out of the vehicle and we basically walked. We're hitchhiking. We're walking. And
hitchhiking into combat.
Correct. Yes. So we get, literally, that's what we did. What are the odds? This is why I should have played the freaking lottery before I played. We're walking. We see that one unit. There's nothing else. Just tents, the dead, everything's down. And we go up that unit. And sure enough, I look up, I talk, I'm like, who are you guys? They're like, we're 4th Recon Battalion. I'm like, 4th Recon Battalion? He goes, yeah, we're supposed to go meet up with 1st Recon Battalion. And who are you? And I'm like, I'm your ticket to 1st Recon Battalion. They're just like,
I'm your LNO. I'm your link up guy.
Exactly. So they're like, well, here's a Humvee. Take that one. Here's a 240 Golf. Let's go. I was like,
it looked legit. You had a probably lower enlisted guy, a lieutenant, and a staff sergeant. Yeah, we're your liaison.
We're it. That was exactly it. I mean, it was just, and they had no comms with anybody, right? I mean, literally no comms with even headquarters. So they're just like, whatever, great, another gunner, get in the truck, let's go, right? So we rode for 9 days with 0 communications with anybody. We had no food, we had no nothing, right?
Just running up into Iraq, just full speed.
We met somebody. That's where we're looking for a recon battalion, right? And this is honest to God, I can vouch this for everybody, right? Who's with. We would do this, like literally we would stop and we're out of food, we're out of ammo, we're out of everything, right? And we would wait till, sorry, I know you're Army guy. We wait to Army convoys to come out, supply convoys, and we would stop them. We're like, hey man, where you guys going? Well, we're going, they show us a map, like, 20 clicks up this road, this and that. We're like, oh, you guys look around. That's all the heavy guns you guys got? They're like, yeah. I go, oh no, there's been ambushes, man, all up this thing. They're like, and all of a sudden they're starting to sweat, right? They're like, like, look, we can escort you guys, no problem. We'll escort you. All we need is some chow,
ammo, water,
oh, look at them. Yeah, they start getting the vests and everything, the armor. Yeah. Like we took some of them, so we did that for 9 days, man. I swear to God. At one point, we were traveling, and I'm sitting there, and I'll bitch about this all day, but our commander was a corporal in the Albuquerque Police Department, right? But now he's a major, right? That switches on the reserve stuff, right? Real bad Napoleon complex. He's about 4'2", but now he's in charge, right? And no one's telling him shit. These guys were putting Longhorn, like Texas A&M Longhorns on the truck. It was a Wild West, right? And you see this in the HBO series, and it's true. That was very true. So I remember, and I've always bitched. I'm like, guys,
was this 4th Recon or 1st Recon Commander?
This was 4th Recon.
Because that was a reserve unit, wasn't it? The 4th Recon, all reserve. Yeah.
Okay. And let me back it up. There was 99% of those dudes were badass. They were awesome. There was some were cops or had real jobs and all that stuff. It was the leadership that was really bad, right? As normal. So we're driving at one point, and I one thing you never do, and for those who are ever going to go to war, you never pass tanks, right? Never pass tanks. And I never forget, at one point we're driving up, heading right outside Baghdad, and we passed first tanks, which is our Marines' first tanks. And I knew at that point, by just getting gouged and stopping in places, that they were the 4 unit at the time. So at one point, was a mistake. We go about a mile past, and I'm on a hook going, stop, turn around. Now we do not pass tanks, and we were the very 4 unit.
You were the front line trace.
You were about 30 minutes. Yeah. I was like, woo, this is awesome. But we turn around because they got smart, because all of a sudden not seeing any good friendly troops anymore. So we turn around, we head back. The tankers are looking at us like, what are these clowns doing? So we go past them, and we stop for the evening, right? All right, we pull up side of the road in Iraq. You just pull up side of the road and whatever, right? You want to sleep. And sure enough, I look over, and then right there was 1st Recon Battalion. Guys are coming out of their little bivy sacks like, huh? They're like, Swarr? I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing here? I'm like, you hug him, and then we connected, and that's all shown in, like, I think episode 6 of Generation Kill. You see this link up. It's funny as hell, man. And then at that point, we drove into Baghdad and did our thing, man. So there's my war story. Sorry,
that is a perspective no one has probably ever heard or realized. But to be the frontline trays going into Baghdad in front of every other friendly unit,
by mistake, by the way,
in soft skin vehicles. Probably, and maybe some Lavs, right? I don't know, whatever they had.
No,
all Humvees.
Man, that was it.
And not armored ones. Not armored.
In fact, we made them as light as possible, because what's an IED? We didn't know what an IED was at that point, right? So we were all afraid of hitting the quicksand in Iraq. We didn't, whatever they call it, right?
And if we drive faster, they can't hit us. Right?
Yeah. So we would literally just unleash everything. Every bit that had anything had weight, you got rid of, right? And then now you're like, oh no, you'll put it all back on, right? But we had fun times. It was a cool story, and this guy wrote about it. I mean, we even met Oliver North. We were doing once again to get chow, we would do little odd jobs, right, for the Army, for foreign. It's like, hey you guys, go ahead and guard this bridge. Okay, so we guard the bridge for like 3 hours, and then all of a sudden one of our guys tried to give this local some porn. Smart move, right? Yeah. The kid took it back to his hut. Dad comes out with an RPG. Firefights ensued, bro. And then right at that point, and I got a picture of this. I got to put it up one day. I wish we're in this firefight. I'm laughing because I'm watching what happened. I'm like, this is stupid. I know why this is going on. This is just an angry dad, blah, blah, blah. Helicopters are flying, land on the freeway behind us, right? They knocked down, which is basically a landing zone now, right? And this is amazing. Out of one of the helicopters, I see this dude, old guy in a flight suit, running. Right, I'm on the bridge, sitting. I'm not gunned up because I know no one can hit me anyway. Whatever. It's like it's about 8 people just fighting each other. This guy comes up. He goes, "Where's the firefight?" I'm like, that way. Holy shit, that's Oliver North. And it was Oliver North running by us. He runs back. He realizes it's a lame ass firefight. He comes back. He's like, he started all out of breath, and I'm like, holy shit, this is Oliver North, man. This is back in the day we had this little wedding disposable camera.
Yeah, the little take a bit, yeah.
I was like, I'm all reaching for one, right? I'm like, oh shit. And then he comes back, he goes, anybody got any Copenhagen? I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Here's a Copenhagen, right? He takes a big old dip, and he's like, this war is about over. This is the best part. He goes, he told me, like, my lieutenant and my communicator, he says, like, this war is about over. Saddam's been dead for days. And I'm like, this is my first fake news. This is it. I'm telling you right now. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Great news, And sure enough, obviously that was the wrong answer. Right? Yeah. But we all got a picture together. It was kind of cool. We're all looking like shit. He's in a flight suit, smokes in the background. It was such a war looking photo. It was so cool. But I met Oliver North, man. It was dope. And he got on a plane or a helicopter, Huey, and flew out, man. I was like,
not on a USO trip, not on the red carpet.
It was a Fox News correspondent thing.
On the outskirts of a weak ass firefight in Iraq that you weren't even interested in partaking in. You're like, not even worth not worth dirtying up my rifle for.
I didn't even my rifle didn't even come off safe at that point. I'm just like, it's just an angry dad. We gave his kids some Playboys or something, That's that whole Muslim culture thing. I didn't know they didn't like that stuff. Anyway, but
Either did the E3 that gave it to him, who just thought, my first sergeant said make friends with them and win them over to our side and all that stuff. Here, this 8-year-old will surely like this.
Exactly, right. So that didn't work out so well. So yeah, that's why and this got all documented, right? You told Evan Wright, the guy who wrote it, and he put this in the movie and all that stuff. Great. And it was funny, man. It was funny because it's like people look at me like, dude, that was such Hollywood bullshit. I'm like, dude, it actually happened. I hate to tell you this. I'm not here, to tell you that. So even the way they did the characters, if you watch the series, I guess I don't even know where it's at these days. You probably find it on Amazon or whatever. Like our Sergeant Major, right? You walk by, trim them mustaches and all that stuff. He was kind of like that. He just kind of ramped it up a little bit. Right. He was a total, tuck in that T-shirt. His guys are shooting. What? Tuck in my T-shirt. Okay. Yeah. It was like typical Marine shit, right?
Right,
so
right.
It was pretty funny.
Your boots are scuffed. Like what? Yeah. I don't even shine these anymore. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. We've been up for 4 days straight. We hadn't had food in 2 days, and it's like you need to shave. I'm like, I know, whatever.
And it hasn't changed. There's something about going to Sergeant Major rank in the Sergeant Major Academy. I mean, I saw that firsthand in Afghanistan. We had a guy of ours that came off of 5 days of fighting. We got him back to Kabul. Went there. The dude looked like rug muffin. I mean, he looked like the dude off the Papa or Snoopy, like the freaking Linus.
Yeah, Linus.
And the brigade sergeant major's coming up, freaking chewing him out. Won't let him in the mess hall because he's too dirty. This dude's been fighting for 4 days. And his biceps are the size of 2 of my legs. He's a giant freaking dude. It's like that's whatever. But yeah, so it happens all over. But hey,
okay, good.
So I mean, man, we got into so much. I mean, we already had a lot to talk about. So I want to kind of get. I mean, you got in. You turned into an instructor. You jumping out of planes. You talked about. You got into free fall Halo. You got quite a few jumps on. How's those knees doing?
Yeah. So after you deploy, I love that because all you want. So from '93 to 2003, there was after Somalia, it was nothing. Nothing, man. You get so bored, right?
Right.
And then the war kicks off, and then you get a little too much of what you want. You're finally like, oh man, I got a fan. I want to, I deploy, I done deploy. You're like, I'm gonna take a break. So I took a break, and I went to become a military free fall instructor. Now, what they do is, it's an Army school,
right?
It's down in Yuma.
Down in Yuma, yeah.
The most beautiful place in the world.
Oh, it's a beach with no water.
You bet, right? And it's about as hot as Death Valley down there. But it's an Army SF school down there, and they have just because we used to send our Marines down there to free fall school. They have 8 instructor slots. So I'm like, sign me up, man. I just need a break. I'll jump out of airplane. So I went down there, fell in love with it, man. I mean, it was my first taste of really the Army, right? It was great. I didn't wear fatigue. I didn't wear anything. Camis, nothing for, I don't know, 3.5 years, right? You wake up, put on PT gear, flight suit, and go jump out of airplanes. You're done by noon. You're like, all right, that's awesome, man. So fell in love with that and jumped a lot. Yeah. To the point where even I retired out of it. They wanted to send me back to MARSOC. They go, hey, you're going to go to a second MARSOC right to Afghanistan. I'm like, I'm at 19.5 years. I'm like, no, I'm done, dude. So I just waited out, retired. But it was cool though, because I got the contract afterwards. I mean, it got me a skill set, no pun intended. But that it kind of took me all types of places, man. I went overseas after I retired and taught Arabs how to jump out of airplanes. I taught them wrong. America, right?
No, don't pull that. No, it's okay. It's good. Pull these two up here. Just pull these two, and then you fall right out, and it works out well.
I swear to God, dude, I would go to Qatar. If you ever know where that's at, I don't even know where it's at. It's over somewhere, right? And really rich country of oil, right? And their military, I don't even know why they have a military. It's about this, the size of a town in West Virginia, the whole, but they just got a lot of this oil, right? Or natural gas or some shit. Anyway, but they got this military, and all these guys want to be free fall qualified. And I'm just like, why? And there are smaller people over there, right? They're smaller guys, man. They're like, the biggest guy I saw was about 160, but they want to jump our big rucks. And I was like, absolutely. We're gonna load you down, bro. Let's do this. And we get out, and as an instructor, you're flying with the guy, right? And these dudes would be tumbling, and I'm just going great, man. Doing awesome. I would stabilize him right before we need to pull, maybe pull his ripcord for him, let him go, get down the ground, and he'd be like, oh, was that okay? I'm like, yeah. We just got to relax a little. You're fine. This dude did like 17. All he saw was brown, blue, right? I didn't care, right? I was just, it was, once again, at that point, I got a little tired. I'm like, what am I doing overseas, right? I'm like, let me get the hell out of here, right? So I came back, and I worked for a lot of people back, but I worked down for CAG and Dev Group. They run a couple courses. Once you finish your OTC down there, you go. That's the last thing you do, right? And you go through a month school, which is pretty awesome, man. Because now you're getting, man, the elite of the elite. Right? And I wasn't one of the elite, but to see these guys and actually teach them free fall, when you go down there, it was great because you do stuff that normal, free fall guys wouldn't do. Hey, you're 12th jump, we're doing 25,000 foot hey-hos, right? I'm like, are you guys sure about that? Like, we're doing it. It's
so were they going through free fall school there, or they'd already done it and you were doing more advanced stuff?
Both. And some of them would go like, a lot of the Rangers would probably, who went over there and already passed, the selection and all that stuff, may not have been free fall qual, but a lot of them were SF guys. Right. So it made your job as an instructor super easy. And even the guys that were brand new, they're just a different athletic ability. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. They were just, you could teach it. You tell them once, got it, dude. Thank you. And that's it. Right. So you were doing stuff that would take normal jumpers, 25, 30, 40, 50 jumps. They were doing it like jump 15, dude. And we're doing like 30-man night hey-hos. In fact, your graduation jump was they wouldn't tell you where you're getting out, right? They give you the azimuth, the direction, you're following a giant bundle, all this crazy stuff. You get out, it was beautiful. It was smart how they do this. Right at dawn, right the sun's starting to crest, and you were over the Grand Canyon. Talk about a trip, dude. You're just like, wow. And you just travel all in this big group of 30 dudes over the Grand Canyon, not over, but like next to it, right? What I'm saying? And they landed an airfield. Super cool stuff, man. And it was fun to train these guys, man. So I did that for a couple years. And then eventually I was on a night 25,000 foot hey-ho. It was winter in Arizona, which is not a big deal, right? Well, at 25,000 feet, it was about negative 30 degrees. And wasn't having it, bro. I was just like, I was under my can. You're up there for 45 minutes, it's freezing, trying to hide behind a rucksack.
On a hey-ho? Yeah, you're taking forever to get down. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? I retired. I mean, what am I was like, I landed and I told the sergeant major, I was like, man, I've had fun. had a good 2 years, man, but that's it. And I hung up my chute at that point, just under 3,000 parachute jumps, man.
Have you done it since in civilian aspect?
I've not. I literally hung it up, and I had, and that's the way I rock, man. I gotta, like, if I'm starting a new career, I gotta go full into it, or I'm gonna, if I do half-ass, I'll half-ass it. So I decided that what am I gonna do with my life? I'm like, you know what? Sometimes when I was jumping, they put a camera helmet on me, right?
Right.
And like a little camera. They wouldn't tell you how to use it. They put the little camera, has a still camera and a little switch you put in your mouth. You bite it and it takes a picture. All right, cool. So you go jump with a guy, you're biting this thing down, you come down. You know, most of the pictures just have a foot in it, you know, maybe a hand, you know, it looks like whatever. But every once in a while, you get that one. The guy's like, oh. And then so I started learning. I'm like, that was awesome. So I'm like, I want to be a photographer.
That's what planted. I was going to ask you how you planted that bug. So that was that.
Yeah. So I'm like, why not? Let me try to be a photographer, man. I don't know, you know, how hard could it be, right? So this is how I had to operate. So I went and I have money from being overseas and working with CAG and those guys. And I was like, I got a 2,700 square foot studio, a bunch of lights, like 4 lights in a background and a camera. And I'm like, what now? I'm paying rent, dude. I got about 6 months before I'm broke. So I went to the school of YouTube, man, and I learned how to do kind of like the Call of Duty. They call it composite photography. So it's like, if you look at a Call of Duty cover, it's all dynamic with explosions. I learned how to do that. And so I was doing that with my friends. I took that to the gun industry, and I started a company called Straight 8 Photography. Those in the gun industry may have heard me before. And they loved it. It's, you know, when you're flipping through a gun magazine, it's just gun. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, what is this crazy operator? Shit's blown up. Yeah. There's, you know, helicopters everywhere. They're like, you stay on that ad just a little bit longer, you know, right. and they realize that. And so I got hired. I've been doing that for 8 years now.
You taught yourself. You just went out, bought the stuff, taught yourself, figured, YouTube learned it.
All YouTube. Then, I never had to pay $1 for school, man. Which I always tell people, anybody who goes to school for photography, you're an idiot. So hope I'm not insulting any of your fans out there, but there's no need. Yeah. Everything's free online, man. And to the point where I'm still learning, you know, and you guys know this. I'm sure you built all this. Probably, I don't think you went to school for this. You just kind of learn how to do all this stuff, right? Same thing. But it doesn't teach you how to be a businessman. That's one thing you gotta buckle down and learn on your own and do a lot of studying, because you could be the best photographer, best artist, best whatever. If you don't know how to sell it, no one cares, right? So that was the big thing. That was the learning curve for me. Figure out how to do some Photoshop, easy, whatever, right? How to pose a model with a gun. Well, most of the guys I use are operators anyway. They already know how to do that. Good to go, you know? So, but I got well over 200 actual magazine covers I've done. And
so real quick, I want to just, the composite photography style, that's you're overlaying and putting backdrops and doing it in layers, right? And building the whole scene.
Correct. Yeah. So like I would shoot you with the gun all kitted up, all dirty, you know, and all that stuff. Some wind blowing already on you, some fans to get some hair going on a like almost like a green screen, right?
Right.
So a background. So you're being taken from there. Then I would build the backgrounds, and you know, whether it's Tehran or wherever, you know, I could build anything, right? Explosions. And then I would kind of work you into that composite.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah, and it's up on your website on Skill Set Mag. There's I think you have some of the pictures up there and all that. And I went and took a look at it. So I encourage our folks definitely to. You got some you're really talented, man. That's some really good stuff. I was like, I probably have seen your stuff on a game system cover or in a gun magazine or two that I may have in my office. Right.
Done a few of those. And look, man, the gun industry was great to me. Gun industry was really good to me until 2020. When you don't need me anymore, right? Oh, you got a gun? Awesome. It sells, right? So why pay money for photography and all that? Right. Now, don't get me wrong. I lost some clientele and, you know, the whole COVID excuses and all that stuff. And they didn't need photographers, which is cool. I get that, right? They're coming back. Yeah. Right. Now with the new administration and things are turning down. So it's like, and so I knew that it dialed that photo business down, which gave me a little break. Cause I'm like, probably like a lot of you guys, man, you know, we're military. You do something for 5 years and now you're looking somewhere else. Right. Like, what else can I do? You know? And so I started getting bored, and hence why I started
Skill Set Magazine.
Skill Set Magazine.
Now, I would imagine you've probably been to a couple SHOT Shows too.
A few. Yes.
Yes.
I think that's where I got COVID, like the 12th time.
Yeah. You probably, I mean, you can only be walking around 5'11s, beards, and Oakleys and service dogs so much. It probably came from a fake service dog. I'm just saying. Right? Probably. Yeah. So I know our good buddy Toby is there. Been a number of them. Our good friend Tim Kennedy's always there. I mean, he's always pitching for all of his brands, Gerber and everybody. So yeah.
You know, funny about Tim Kennedy, right? Here's a funny story, and I'm done with that. I got talked into going to your guys' level 1 and 2 combatives. I think it was in the Army, right?
Yeah.
level 1, pretty easy, not a big deal. You know, it's typical combatives.
That's a Marine barracks on a weekend.
Yeah, right. That's after a couple beers, right?
Yeah.
Level 2, that ramped up a little bit. I was getting punched in the face, right? And then I was at Fort Bragg going through it, of all places. And sure enough, I'm in there, and that guy, we're doing like jiu-jitsu and doing ground fighting stuff. And I'm rolling with a dude that's just cock strong. This guy's a natural athlete. I had no clue it was Tim Kennedy, right? Yeah, it was Sergeant Kennedy. I'm like, hey, whatever, you know. Like 3 or 4 years later, I'm seeing him on the UFC. I'm like, yeah, that dude kicked my ass already, you know. So pretty cool, man. You know,
you helped get him there. That's it. Yeah,
Oh yeah, it was all me, bro.
Yeah,
you're right.
But no, that's awesome. So, so you started Skill Set Magazine 2016, right? Mm-hmm. You've got a number of covers behind you. I know you do you do all the photography probably for it. Yes. What was the goal of it? When you said, hey, I'm going to put together a magazine and go find a national publication distribution, what was you've reinvented yourself a few times. What said, I'm going to go that route now?
Well, that was my thing. It's one of those things where I watched somebody do something for so long, right? And then what I mean by that, working magazine covers and stuff like that for the gun industry. Like I said, I have over 200 covers I've done for Recoil magazine, you know, Ballistic, all these, whatever gun ones come up today, you know. And then I'm looking, and I pry. I sneak in there. I do a little recon. I talk to editors. I kind of find out. I always want to know the business, right? I want to know, is this cool, something to be in or whatever? And I got to the point where I'm like, man, why can't I do this, right? Because my big thing why I started Skill Set, and I say me, my wife, Gina, I'm gonna give her full credit, man. She was the one that says, do this, right? A female basically started this, and I was like, I'm just kind of executed, right? In other words, Sergeant Major made it happen, right? I just made it happen, right? But there was no really good men's magazines, right? So I go to Barnes and Noble or whatever, and in the you know, the men's interest section, there was Six Pack Abs or Gay Mags. That was it, right? You know, it's like Men's Health or gay magazines. I'm like, well, where's the stuff that I grew up with, like the Maxim magazine in the 90s was amazing.
that was like the men's magazine, right? It was
great, man. It had humor. Right now it's just all titties and all that stuff, which it's been sold like 16 times, so it's been revamped, but which is fine too, don't get me wrong. But I mean, to the point, you know, you're like a combination of everything, right? So Maxim was like that back in the 90s, and I really dug that. And then it just died off and it didn't have that. So I'm like, man, I wonder if I can create something like that, right? And we used, you know, our tag is like, you know, redefining the alpha lifestyle, because I think we all kind of live the alpha lifestyle. People are like, what does that mean? I'm like, basically, it's getting off the freaking couch and going ahead and making yourself, you know, you set your own career, you set your own path. There's nothing going to stop you, right? I mean, that's the only thing that's going to stop you. And that's kind of the alpha lifestyle. It doesn't mean I'm tough. I can beat people up, because I can't. So it's like, you know, it's one of those things, but it's just not sitting there relying on the government or someone to give me a freaking handout, you know, and that's where we kind of look at the alpha lifestyle. So, and I love humor. I'm a jarhead. I eat crayons or whatever the hell they say. And, you know, and I like that type of, you know, that type of military humor, even in the civilian world side. So we started Skill Set, and, you know, with a lot of 2A influence as well inside there, which is cool, right? Because we're all big gun guys and all that stuff. But it's not all about guns. I mean, you love guns, I love guns, but it's not 24/7. There's other stuff, man, you know, whether it's MMA or, you know, just cool stuff, cars, and, you know, just getting outdoors. So we kind of encompass all that in Skill Set, and we ran that, you know, probably self-funded, which if people are like, I'm gonna start a magazine, I'm like, do it online, because print is nasty, man. We would print 30,000 copies every quarter, right? And we had it, you know, we figured out all the distribution and all that stuff, and it was very pricey, man. It was not, we weren't making money. This is we we're losing a lot of money. Advertising, thank you for all the advertisers that were with us day one, back in 2016 and 17. You're awesome, because you kept us afloat to the point, but be able to do what we could do. And then finally in 2018, Athlon Outdoors, which actually they're a sub company of AMG Parade, which is the largest publisher in America, right? They put out more magazines than I know, right? They had interest in us, and they bought us, man. They took us. They're like, hey, we're going to take you to the next level in distribution. You guys.
So that just happened, didn't it? I mean, that just
2018.
Oh, yeah. 2018.
It's been 2 years now. Yeah. And they took us from 30,000 copies per issue to 140,000 copies per issue. Places I didn't even know we're at. I go to like places, like stores now. I'm like, you guys carry us too? That's awesome, you know. So and they give us a lot of leeway, let us do our thing. They don't get into our business too much, right? I mean,
okay, so they still let you run things pretty much and have our creative control and all that.
Yeah, when it comes to like the cover, that's when the negotiation, because that's their big thing. Remember the old days when guys remember Blockbuster, right? And you go in there, you know, back now we watch, like, you know, Netflix or Amazon, you can watch trailers.
Right.
All right, I like that. I don't like that. Or I don't like, you know, back in Blockbuster, what sold you? The box art, right?
Well, not even that, but just the movie theaters before Blockbuster, right? You walk up to the theater, you looked at the posters, go, which movie are we going to see? And you walk up and down and go, that one looks good. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I look at covers too. So you go to a grocery store or Barnes & Noble, how many magazines? There's hundreds there, right? Something's got to poke you in the eye going, buy me, dude, buy me, right? So so that's where the negotiation comes with Athlon is the cover. And it's a good thing. It's for them trying to improve us. Hey, your cover lines be a little bit more, I guess the word now is clickbaity, right? You know, or something to get your attention and all that stuff. And we've learned a lot. You know, we've had movie stars on our covers. We've had Medal of Honor winners on our covers. And we've also had a freaking canine dog on our cover. And it's actually sold really well. You know, so you kind of find out what sells, what people want to see, and all that stuff.
So you've learned a lot about marketing. You've definitely grown a lot there, and human factors and all that kind of stuff, I would imagine.
100%. Yeah. You know, and what I like is not what everybody likes. I learned that lesson a lot too, right? So we learned to really engage with our audience. Well, a lot of magazines don't, all right? And I'm not knocking other magazines here, but we are on social media. We're talking to, you know, to listeners and fans and readers. And I answer 1,000 DMs a day because I care. You're the ones that are paying my salary, man. You're the ones that are buying my magazine and keeping me employed. So I want to hear what you want, right? So, and it's a pain. It is not easy, man. It's like 6 a.m. I'm up working that stuff. But you know what? It keeps me employed, and I freaking love you guys out there for doing that. And I will listen to everything you say. You tell me I suck, I got it. Tell me why I suck so I can fix it. You know, that's how I look at things. And it's worked out, man. It's been really good, man. So so far, you know, we're in our 17th issue right now. And once again, we're a quarterly magazine, so it's and it's going well, man. And
you write it's stories, and are you author of a lot of these stories, and you have other authors and stuff like that? Or
that's one thing I had to dig back into my my West Virginia education, which I didn't do so well back then. Thank God I got a teacher or a brother who's like an English teacher. This dude's awesome, man. And he's just like, look, I would give him my stories. I write an article, and he'd be like, what are you doing?
Just a big crayon, like writing it out. And he's like, no,
you know, draw a dick on it somewhere, you know, whatever, you know, it is. And and then so he schooled me on that, and basically is taught. Once again, you learn everything, right? So all right, how do I make it better? And how I make we pride ourselves on 3 to 4 page articles, right? Short attention span. I'm once again jarhead. I got you know, squirrel. What? I look over here, something's going on, right? So I want our magazine to be the same thing. I think our longest article ever is 5 pages. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So you're in and out. If you got I got to hit the head, man. I got the bathroom. Cool. You can do 2 articles in that thing, man. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. Leave it in the toilet so people can read it faster, and stuff like that. So it's cool, man. I think people appreciate that, man. You know. Everybody's busy. Everybody has, just whether you like it or not, social media, being online, it's got us where you need to be in and out, right? So I treat print the same way. Print, everybody's like, oh, print's dead. It's dying. Don't get me wrong, because we're focusing on a lot of digital stuff, but everybody likes something in their hands, right? Right. And
so I want to real quick hit on you got a pretty good online site. I mean, you have a lot of articles up there. Do you have it where people can subscribe and just get like a PDF or get an online version? Do you have like a subscription login to your site so they can kind of get the magazine, but just without having to get one shipped to them?
Yeah, 100%. So whatever you see in print, we actually do the digital version as well, right? So you can subscribe for like nothing. It's like $2, $3, or I don't know. It's super cheap, you know, and get it delivered right to your, you know, your phone, you know, or whatever. And some people do both, you know, because it's just a lot. One thing we found that a lot of these things are becoming collector items, man, you know, and I say collector items, like our earlier issues now are going to $30-$40 on like eBay, which is like stupid. I'm like, really? But we're not printing them anymore, right? Whatever we printed prior to being picked up at Athlon is gone. That is it, man. So, you know, those will go up in value, and people know that now and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. But on the other end, you know, people don't care. Some people don't care. They just want good content on their phone or their computer or whatever. So yeah, we do 100% digital or print. and I like it that way, man. It gives it kind of both best of both worlds, man.
Right.
Old school guys like us. I mean, like I said, I like to sit back and look at something tangible every once in a while, get my eyes off the damn computer screen.
Right, right. Like say, flip through a magazine, just sit in the chair or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this is going well. I mean, you are you're very involved with this. You have a couple other things going too. You have a little bit of a hobby that's kind of a little side hustle, don't you? That is I would say unique.
It makes people think I'm the weirdest. Yeah. So,
well, you were a punk rocker from West Virginia, skater.
That is true, right? So yeah, I rocked Mohawks for many years. So it's yeah, and I've also been growing up in West Virginia, man. Another thing that I found myself, I love horror movies. I love horror movies, and my assistant editor Ben Turpek, who me and him we're brothers, bro. We're both just he's not military, but I am, but we're cut from the same cloth, man. And that's the only thing I watch. Maybe a war movie here and there, but horror movies, and so. I gotta keep my hands busy. So I like to start making like masks and stuff like that. I did that as a kid too, right? Everybody kind of dabbles on weird stuff, making fake arms and stuff like that. Well, I didn't realize that I can make money doing this, and we actually have a company called Terra Trader that we've been putting together, and it's we build latex masks, props, you name it, man. Giant 6-foot Frankensteins down to crazy stuff, man. And it started as a hobby, just because we like building that stuff. We like creepy stuff. You come to our studio, we have a green room that's about 1,000 square feet, and it's creepy as hell, man. People walk in like, nope, I'm out of here. It's like, it's weird. I know. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. It's getting weirder by the day, but it's cool for us. It's an outlet, right? Once again, life's not all just guns and military, man. I hate to say that, or politics. You need a break from that. I tell everybody that, regardless, even if that's your world. I'm in the political realm or whatever. You need an escape. Some people fish, some people hunt. I build monsters, right? So, which is weird as hell. And I wish I had something to show you here with me, but I didn't know we'd talk about it today. But yeah, it's cool, man. And it's a fun release. And now we're starting to get a little bit of a name in that genre. The cool thing about that, and I'll tell you this is weird. I never thought I don't have to worry about being censored. For some reason, horror movies just go. No one cares, right? Fake death, great. I can sell my product to both the right and left, which is weird because I can't do that in our Skill Set magazine, right? Or anything like that. So it's kind of like, okay, it's nice. And when the gun industry and my photo business kind of dropped during the 2020 COVID, that picked up and it supplemented my income and it kept roofs overhead. Everybody got paid. Everything's doing well. And so yeah, it's fun.
So you have the machines and the manufacturing capability to produce these masks and
yeah,
all that kind of stuff. Are you producing props? Are you doing movie props?
For independent movies, nothing major right now. Yeah, so those that's all mafia. I would say mafia.
Yeah. You can't break into that, right?
Yeah, those big studios. I don't know if I want to because it's those are huge productions, but we do stuff for independent films and stuff like that. There's people making movies every day right now, you know what I'm saying? And they always need that fake arm where that dude's head's severed. Got it. What do you need? I'll put it together. And it's fun for us. We actually have a good time, man. In fact, I've been molding fake heads all day today, right? Weird shit, right? The best part is, like I said, when people come in and they see all this stuff and they just look at us and it's like, should I be here? I'm like, yeah, you come on in.
I was going to talk to you about advertising in your magazine. I'm not sure I want to. I think I'm going to end up on an ID network channel like show, yeah, and my body's going to be found in Yuma.
Yeah, right. No kidding. But it's a good thing. It goes back to those guys. If I tell people who are suffering from depression or PTSD, man, forget drugs, forget pills, whatever the VA wants to give. That's fine. You have to do that. Great, man. Work with your hands. Even if you suck, it doesn't matter. I couldn't sculpt to save my life, so I took classes online for free, and then I realized it's all technique, right?
So you learn that just like you learn photography, just
correct,
YouTube.
Yeah. Just studied hours and hours of experts, and then you just if they did this, I'm going to do it. Oh wow, it kind of works. That's pretty cool, and you just start working that way. And next thing you know, whatever bad, shitty day I just had, I don't care anymore, man, because I'm doing something, having fun with it. I take pictures, show my friends. They're like, oh, that's kind of dumb. I'm like, I don't care, And then it just evolved into something that you do something. You know how it is. It's like people say karate. You do something 1,000 times, punch 1,000 times, you'll be an expert, right? Or whatever. Same thing, man. It's the same thing, whether it's art. I mean, I look back at Bob Ross. Remember Bob Ross, the guy painted, Happy Little Trees? Why was he doing it? Anybody can do it. We've done it. We actually did a Bob Ross in our magazine to prove a point that if you do it enough times, you can freaking do it, right? And it actually Ben did it, and it looks a really good painting. We actually auctioned it off for like a couple $100. I'm like, really? But it's cool. So keep your hands busy, and that's something I always tell people. How do you deal with PTSD and stress? That's exactly how I do something. I don't watch the TV. I just go work. So And now we turn into a business because I can't just do a hobby. I got to have everything for business.
I don't see you ever slowing down, man. I mean, you wouldn't tell that you are retired because you were going full speed.
Right. But it's I'm not tired of it though. That's the cool part. I'm not. I think that's why I keep swapping. How long will I be here with skill set? I don't know. We've been doing it 4 years now.
Toby's coming in. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up? So we may do it, a couple more years, and they're gonna fire me, right, or something like that. And this is great. I'll probably be ready to move on to something else. But I always got to keep that fun fulfilled, man. And I think that's a smart thing, man. And it keeps you ahead of the game. Because these days you may get fired, or you never know, right? So have something to back up, man. It's like Toby's here. What's up?
What's going on, boys?
What's up, man? Toby, you throw my video off, dude. I gotta do a.
I was trying to text you to give you a heads up, but my signal is not, as they see here, bueno.
Yes, it's not bueno. Yes, that's right. Well, welcome on, man. I'm sure you've been listening. I hope you've been listening because
I've been trying to had some signal issues. I'm at a condo. And we got the Wi-Fi set up now, so
yeah,
should be all right.
Well, if you're gonna get stuck outside of Texas, one, you picked a good time to do it, and two, you're in a good spot, my friend.
Every good Canadian has a cold weather escape plan.
That's right.
You learn that in elementary school. You go to those primary grades and you learn winter sucks. Have an escape plan. How to survive in it, but really how to get away from it. It's kind of like Krav Maga, right? You're like. You want to be able to kill somebody, but you also really just want to get away.
Yeah, that's it. Awesome. Yeah. Well, welcome, man. Hopefully you've been listening some. We have. Jason has been. The stories are. You're gonna have to go back and listen. It's been. Oh, dude, it's awesome. He has given us so much perspective on things that we've never even known about. So. Is there anything before I go on to some other topics? We were about to get into some current topics. Anything that you want to hit on, Toby, that you were interested in question?
No, let's go.
Okay. So, I know we're at about the hour, but man, there's so much more to cover. You still good to go for a little bit, Jason?
I got coffee. I'm good, man. Let's do
okay.
This.
You're on coffee. I never would have guessed by the speed that you're talking.
You're right. Just keep running. Yeah,
no. All right. Yeah. Well, hey, a lot of stuff's been going on. I first want to kind of give a shout out, and kind of acknowledge, somebody that's really, I don't know if we can say that that he is, the reason, we're do what we do, but I think I don't think it's too conceited to say. I think he kind of led to it, and that is, the passing of Rush Limbaugh this week was huge. I mean, our good friend Dave Bellavia, Medal of Honor recipient who does his show every week. I was on again today. I was talking about you, Jason, actually on there, and he's been talking about. I learned today that Rush gave Dave essentially his start and launched his career, and so many. He paved the way for conservative talk radio. And, now has led to others like Shapiro and Candace Owens and Levin and all these other folks. I really feel, too, that he kind of helped pave that way for even the conservative bloggers and new media and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to kind of any thoughts or reflections on his passing this week?
Look, man, he's a GOAT, man. He was, it was that guy, like you said, he's paved the way, and he's been hated, right? I mean, by people, especially. One thing that sucks about obviously no one wants, I don't care left or right. I don't want to see someone die. I've seen an American die. I hate that. Right? I don't want that. Right. But, I'm alone on some of that side. Cause when he died, it was like a party for a certain group of people. And I can't stand that. Cause and the thing is the guy was, he's always taken that abuse. He's always taken that heat from people, but he didn't care. And that's what I love about him, man. Where most people, the cancel culture, the stuff like that, people are just like, oh, you don't like me, or hey, we're going to ban you. Oh, okay, I'll settle down. He didn't do that, man. He kept going. He believed in something, and he talked about it, and he rolled with it, man. And I got mad respect for that, dude. Much respect for that,
Yeah, absolutely. Toby, any thoughts from you, man?
I really want to caveat kind of on what Jason just said. So a couple, and I know everyone, please understand. I'm limited on what I have for media down here. I got Twitter, I got Facebook, obviously on my phone when I can get to it. But for the most part, I'm limited on mainstream media here where I'm currently located, and it really is sad when somebody that puts the time and effort and trailblazes an industry, right? So let's just start there. Let's not talk on perspectives. Let's not talk on viewpoints. Let's not talk on leanings. Let's just talk about industry. Let's talk about enterprise. Let's talk about making profitable the opportunity for people to engage in dialogue. All right. And here's a gentleman, a guy, a man that puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like most human beings. All right. And he created the opportunity, regardless of size, regardless of perspective, regardless of leanings, for people to have the opportunity to express themselves and to really utilize the First Amendment. And one thing, like, the guy is known for isn't what party he represents, is what country he represents.
Right.
And when you see people openly celebrating, and like Jason just spoke about, like, people celebrating, it's really tragic to me. One, we shouldn't, it speaks to someone's character anytime you celebrate somebody's death. And even myself, like, I'll be honest with you, was never a Michael Jackson fan. Didn't like the music, like, grew up at a different time. The stories, the rumors were out there. Everyone had a pretty good idea about, the nature of his character. And so when he died, someone like that, a pedophile, like someone that abuses people, like, even I, like, was like, you know what, he's dead. Like, if you want to talk trash about somebody, talk about it while they're alive and they can defend themselves. Everyone knows the person in the room that cuts down the person that's not in the room, and you know what that says about their character. And it just says, like, they're a raging piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, and we have a guy that just got the Medal of Freedom, what, 2 years ago?
No, a year
That's
ago.
not.
A year ago.
I-
January
was
last
it
year.
2020?
Yeah.
Was it the 2020 that he got it?
Yeah.
So, like, here's a guy that got the Medal of Freedom from the United States of America. It doesn't matter who's in the office that presents it. That is the highest award that a citizen of the United States, non-military, a citizen of the United States, can achieve. Jason said the GOAT. Like, was he the greatest of all time? Maybe. Definitely in his genre, he was a trailblazer. Mm-hmm. But regardless, like, that, the people that can claim on a resume that they have the Medal of Freedom is so few. And for someone to immediately, and let's go ahead and say, in the same vein as people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Right.
Sure.
And the producer quickly check to make sure that she got it. But when we say, and I'm picking people, that have earned this accolade, this, with like supernumerary, type of thing, like that's such a rare number. And yet when people celebrate the death of that, like, it just speaks to not just the character of the individual doing that, but the message behind it.
Well, it's
take your politics aside, just get to that. Get to the point where you're celebrating the death of somebody because you disagree.
Right.
Right.
We talked on Dave's show today. Dave hit me on this specifically. Said, how do we feel? Toby, you and I have been doing this show, and Jason's been doing his podcast and his stuff in media for a while. And Dave said, how have you felt when you've been attacked, when you've had negative comments? We were talking about the comments about Rush. And he goes, how do people deal with that? How do people see all this hatred and vitriol and all these comments and stuff? I said, well, I think a lot of folks kind of take it as a badge of honor, right? Because when it comes to politics, if one side's coming after you, it's because you're a threat. If you're not a threat, they don't care, right? It's like, whatever, no one's going to waste their time, energy, or money to try to keep you from getting elected, or or maybe getting you kicked off Twitter and getting you kicked off every social media, and trying to impeach you twice, unless you're a threat to them, right? So I said, and I related to, just like guys in the military who, the word infidel in the Muslim culture is a terrible thing, but our soldiers took it as a badge of honor, getting it tattooed across their chest, across their backs, on the, everyone loved. I mean, I've got a shirt that said infidel, right? Everyone loved that term, right?
Infidel Motorcycle Club.
Right. We took it. We were like, oh, you want to call us a bad name? I'll call myself that, right? It's a badge of honor. So I was like, I took it the same way. Granted, Rush is not, still here to whatever, but I would say for people to take this in context to look at it, hey, that means he had that much of an impact on him that he's probably not even been through process. He's definitely not in the ground yet. And they're coming after him with such hate. It just shows how much impact he had against whatever they feel is important. Sure. So,
but that's such a valuable point. Like, again, like the threat thing, there's a young girl based out of Texas. Her name's Kendall Jones. She's now with Turning Point. She was a Texas Tech cheerleader that liked to hunt. And years ago, her dad, a wealthy Texas guy, took her to Africa, and she harvested a giraffe or something. I think it was a giraffe, or maybe a lion. And here, you got this, all-American blonde hair, beautiful girl, and it launched her into the public fray. And I saw a thing today where they were like, hey, what's the most commonly question you get asked? And in my mind, I was like, how'd you get in the outdoor world? How did you, negotiate this? How'd you go from being a cheerleader to being a on-air personality? Like, all those questions. Her number one question was, how do you deal with the hate? And if she, basically a nobody, right? Let's be honest, she's nobody, has to deal with the hate. I can't imagine the.
Oh, did we lose you? We lost him. If he doesn't come back, I got something I'm going to spin off of this. Okay. If he doesn't come back, okay. If he comes back, we'll get him. I want to hit on something real quick, and I'm going to put this in perspective. And there we go. We lost Toby. I want to put this in perspective to something that happened today. So, and Jason, you remember this. Over the last, 6 to 7 months, we've had a number of politicians. There, Toby's back. We've had a number of politicians, Democrat, right? Newsom and mayors, a lot of mayors and congresspeople that were better for thee, not me, right? They were traveling when they were saying don't travel, don't go anywhere for the holidays. They were traveling. They were not wearing masks. They're going to fancy dinners when they say don't go out to eat. Blah 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 blah. Right. None of the mainstream media gave a crap except for a couple outlets, right? And conservative ones. Ted Cruz is in Mexico, and the freaking collective world today in mainstream media, Toby, you probably don't know this, and is lost its mind today on Ted Cruz because he was in Mexico and flew there right before the storm hit. And today he came back. And I'm telling you, it took over all of the political banter on the mainstream media because Ted Cruz went to Mexico before a storm hit Texas. A storm that nobody in Texas could predict it would still be going on. It's as bad as it is. Definitely not the energy companies because they failed to even think about starting up their coal and oil and gas plants to produce energy. Right. They thought the windmills were going to do it. So a storm that no one had even perception would be this bad and last this long. They have railed him today because he flew. Yet we've had months of every Democratic politician from the localist level to the national level fly, literally pun intended, in the face of what they're telling everyone else to do. Again, shows the threat.
It drives me nuts, man. When I saw that story, first off, hats off to Cruz getting out. I'm like, I would have done the same thing. I mean, what are we going to do? I know he's supposed to be a leader and be there with it. I get that. But Jesus, once again, you can't predict the weather, right? I mean, you can try all you want.
Weathermen can't predict the weather, and that's their job, and they can't do it.
And he came back, by the way.
Yes.
So I probably would have stayed there. I don't know. It's a lot warmer, right? I'm a fair weather person these days. Anyway, that's why I live in Arizona. But look, I don't give a shit. They would have done. It doesn't matter what Ted Cruz did, man. Once again, his hair is not parted right. They're going to talk something about it because they need to. And that's what kills me, man. I knew that when Trump was out of office. I'm like, what are they going to do now? What are they going to? They're going to eat each other up. They're going to. They have to. It's like such ingrained in the last 4 years that they must attack somebody or something, and hence the cancel culture and all that stuff. They just wait and just what did so and so do? Michael Jackson. How did he survive? You're right, because I mean, some of these guys are known. On one side, I don't know. I put Michael Jackson. You said it earlier, Toby. That's why. But it's like some of these guys are literally. I mean, they're known. Abusers or pedophiles. And I have years of stuff I can attack the left on, but I don't. Right. Know why? Because I have a life, and I don't. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? I know you're wrong. If you came to my door, I'd slam it in your face. Well, I'm not going to spend my time. I have my hourglass. My saying is starting to run out. right? So why am I going to waste my time with you who, you're a piece of shit or whatever? I'm not. I'm going to enjoy my life. They can't do this. They can't. They have to attack. It's the TMZ thing, right? It's the whole paparazzi thing taken to the political level. And now it's getting violent. It's getting crazy. And it's tough, man. It drives me nuts, man. And to the point where, I want to ingest news just like everybody else, but I can't sometimes because I can't freaking take it, man. Having to have a Twitter account because of skill set. That's the only reason I'm on there, man. That is it. I tell athlon people tell me to be on there. That is it. After that, I'm out. I'm gone because I can't take it because they need to bitch about it.
Well, we used to say, hey, if you don't like something, you don't like the business, you don't support, and then don't go there, right? Don't file a complaint, just don't do it. You don't want to partake, then don't do it. Go to somewhere else. When we talk about online and messaging and all that kind of stuff, I got my multi-video up here. Let me turn that off. We can't even do that because we did one. No one liked Twitter, so they went to Parler. Right? Nobody liked Instagram, so they went to Parler. Well, they shut Parler down, right? Yeah. And now Parler's back, and the only reason they can be back is if they silence some voices. So they're not even the Parler that they used to be. So, you can't even say anymore, hey, if I don't want it to go to Twitter, you can't say, well, then go use something else. There is nothing else, right? They're attacking that. And
they're trying to.
It's this cancel culture, right?
They're trying to literally get you not to exist anymore, right? And whenever every Republican or conservative dies, it's a party. Yay. That's one less of you guys. One less of what? All I like is freedom. Right? So, what I'm saying? I don't go to your house and tell you can't be transsexual. You can be a freaking unicorn. I don't care. Right. Just don't participate in my kids' sports, right? Or whatever. Have your own. I always say that with the transsexual thing. I'm like, that's fine. Have your own category. That's great. I'll watch dudes with dicks run all day long. I don't care. Just not against my daughter, right? But it's stuff like that. It's like, I don't get that. And why can't you have that mentality? It's like, dude, just leave me alone, right? I don't like CNN. I don't watch CNN. I have no problem. My blood pressure doesn't go up, right? But they have to do that, man. And I don't know why. I think it's ingrained. And look, man, we lost. I tell this to everybody. I'm like, it's our own fault. I had Brandon Tatum. I don't know if you guys know.
Officer Tatum.
I had him on a podcast last week, and we were talking, and I said it. I was like, it's our own fault. We let the media, we lost control of the media and our school system. We let it happen. And it was a slow roll. It was a slow boil, right? They didn't turn the heat on and throw the frog in there. They let it cook, right? And, I got a kid getting ready to go to college next year, and I'm just like, do I want to send you there? I mean, I know what indoctrination you're going to go through. Thank God she got a brain kind of like me. Well, maybe, I think, I don't know. But, it's like you worry about that. Where before, 4 years ago, I'm like, you're going to college. There's no doubt you're going to get an education. But now I'm worried,
Right.
So it's stuff like that. But once again, we did it to ourselves. My question to Brandon was, how long to take it back? What do we got to do? We got to start. We're not going to get it back tomorrow. It's going to take, and not even say get back. Can I get back to just being even, right? Where you have conservative views and liberal views at the same university. That's cool. I don't mind that, right? It's America. We can do this. But according to that side, the liberal side, we can't do that. It's my way or get the, F out. So it drives me nuts. And same with the media, right? We don't like you, we'll cancel you. Get rid of Newsmax. Get rid of OAN.
Right.
They're white supremacists. Freaking, what do they call us? Nationals or what? I don't know what they're nationals.
No, I'm with you. It's this cancel culture, right? Disney, what they're doing. They try to cancel the actress from Mandalorian, who's a former UFC fighter, right? And anyone else. Today, Luke Combs, right? Because he's had a Confederate flag at some of his shows. He's a country recording artist, and there's Confederate flags at his shows. And today he had to come out and apologize. Not sure what that's going to do much to his fan base. Probably most will probably not care because he makes good music and they realize, hey, he just has to do it. They're not going to not listen to him anymore or go, but they're probably like that, sucks that he had to, kowtow to them. But, he had up there, so he's doing it. And it's nonstop. Kardashian, I forget which one it is, one of them, right? She comes out with a tequila and now she's being attacked that she's appropriating she's appropriating Mexican culture. I didn't realize tequila was limited to only Mexicans could make tequila, have a tequila company. She probably bought the distillery from Mexicans, right? And
so I can't own a taco shop.
You can't own a taco. If you're not Italian, don't open a pizza parlor
or a pizzeria.
I mean, you ventured into a lot of new business ventures, so just keep that in mind, right? You can't
watch myself. Yeah.
And
that's the thing. I hate you said that. I can't remember. I'm not a country guy, so
Luke Combs. Luke Combs.
I hate when they apologize. Right. I mean, unless you straight up screw up. Hey, sorry, I kind of banged that hooker last night with a bunch of cocaine. You guys caught me. My bad. Oh, I apologize. I get that. Right. But when it's something that you know, whether it's something I said or something that, hey, my song says this, or I own a tequila company and I'm not, and Hispanic descent, don't apologize for anything. You haven't done anything wrong. Right. But it feels like they have to go, I'm sorry. Now, what happens when all of a sudden you apologize? A great example was AOC and Ted Cruz when they agreed to something, right? Like Ted Cruz kind of like offered a little, what do they call it? I don't know what they call it when they offer it's a fig leaf or something. I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, olive leaf, like
olive. Yeah, there we go. Offered it to her and said, "Hey, we're seeing the same thing." I can't even remember what the topic was anymore. It doesn't matter. And they're like, "We're kind of on the same wavelength." She's like, "Yeah," and I want you to quit. And she had to go right back instead of saying, "Thanks, Ted." Fist bump or whatever, we can get along for 2 seconds. No, she had to attack him because that's how they operate, man. And it's just, with me and Brandon, we're talking. Brandon and I here we go. Me some proper English, right? I'm an editor of a magazine. I should probably talk better. I had to.
That's why you have an edit. That's why you have a
copy editor.
Yeah, copy editor.
But he says it. He goes, "We got to stop being pussies." For some reason, the conservative side just wants to always get along, right? Hey man, let's put bygones be bygones. But when the other side, right, doesn't want that, why do we keep pushing to be nice guys? Why do we keep trying to, put the olive branch out there? I'm almost done with it, man. I'm just like, nope. I go out
because what's it going to get you? They're not going to be like, oh, you're a good dude, I was wrong, let's sit down and have a civil discussion. No, they just take as kindness for weakness and then just keep on attacking. They never back, right? This is a big complaint against the Republican Party is that Republican Party, the Democrats, they circle their wagons, right? If I were to classify all the liberals in that cast, and they freaking attack, and they just beat down, right? Where Republicans have kind of been known, which is why President Trump was such a fresh breath of fresh air to a lot of conservatives, in that he didn't give in, right? He didn't have to kowtow to anybody or do nothing, and he wasn't, sometimes some people say he's rude. Definitely some of his stuff was maybe a little crass for some, but he went after and he stood behind it and he took them on faced head to head and he was a threat, right? The Democrats, they don't let up. I mean, they hit you from all angles. I mean, you've probably seen the montages on the news where they'll, they're great at, Tucker Carlson's great at showing this, right? And where they'll show like a topic of the day and they use one or two keywords and they'll show 15 different news broadcasts that use the same words, right? Like about Cruz today. I'm sure they use some kind of thing about Cruz and ABC, NBC, MSNBC, CBS, NPR. They use, it's like they were all emailed the same script.
I agree. Yeah, and look, the left is the masters of propaganda.
Yeah, of narrative.
They're hats off to China because they're the one helping this. That's not. Propaganda is stronger than any bullet. I'm telling you right now. You as long as you can get in there, and you're starting great with his kids' minds, man. Like the TikTok and all that. These people were jumping in. They're just during the 2020 riots, right? And my kid would come up and like, look, she's on TikTok. She goes, check this out, ACAB. You know what this hashtag means? I'm like, no, I don't know. What the hell does that mean? She's like, all cops are bastards. I'm like, what? She goes, everybody. If I don't have it, she doesn't have it. She's freaking smart, thank God. But she goes, I'm getting canceled because I don't put this in my whatever profile, right?
Yeah. If you don't put your pronouns up, right?
Pronouns. I don't understand it. That's the bad part. I'm like, literally, I can't even put pronouns because I don't understand what you're talking about.
I don't need to put mine up because they're what you expect them to be. Like he, his, him. Like they're nothing different. Right. I don't need to, classify them. Can I put up my adjectives like awesome, handsome, strong, like,
cool.
I want to put those in my like tag or something like that.
I like it too.
It's like,
but if you don't follow in there, and same thing, it's like if they're canceling somebody and you're not jumping on board, they're going to cancel you, right? And and look, we're older guys. Cancel me. I don't care, right? I've said that since day one. Please, someone we've had people attack skill set, alpha lifestyle. You guys are toxic masculinity. I'm like, great. What are you going to do about it? That's what I tell them. Or what? What are you going to do?
Make sure you get a subscription so you can keep an eye on that for us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, whatever.
And that's what I was like, what are you going to do? You're going to yell at me on Twitter? I don't care. And for me as an older guy, it's fine. I can do this. As a 16-year-old kid, it's like their life, man. I got to get that out. We grew up in the 80s, man. We're doing this stuff in the 80s. Great. No problem. We have fun. We didn't have this stuff. I got to get out of the mentality. That's a different lifestyle, right? That's a different world, man. These kids, if they get canceled off social media, it means something. And I'm like, okay, I guess. So now you got to work that around that, and all that stuff. So it drives me nuts, man.
But the sad thing is I'm going to date us, right? This cancel culture has been going on since we were kids. Back in the 70s and 80s, it was the record labels, right? It was the backwards playing of the stuff, burning of records. If you play the White Album backwards, they're telling you to worship Satan, right? And what were they doing? They were, burning records and going in front of Congress and saying that, if you listen, KISS stands for, Knights in Satan's, circle, whatever the hell they say, right? Remember all they play the records backwards all the time and be like, I guess, I hear that, I don't know. And I was like, are they that good with recording this? And what they do, they try to cancel them out. The kids that hated that, are now up there having it done to them, right?
That is true, man. Yeah. Gangster rap. In the 90s.
Gangster rap.
NWA, man. They would, or Two Live Crew. They would go on. They would go on concerts and get arrested, right? Yes. I mean, it's like. So you're right. I guess you're right. I didn't even think about it. That was the cancel culture back in those days, yeah. So it has been going on.
And it goes back before that. Elvis was gyrating the hips. Right. The problem was it was the older people canceling the younger. This is where this is where it's flipped. Right. Yeah. Back in our days, like whether it was the backwards, the records being played backwards, or back when Elvis was shaking his hips and Jerry Lee Lewis and all that kind of stuff. Right. It was the adults canceling the youth. Now it's flipped completely. It's the youth canceling the adults. You don't put pronouns in. You don't say this. You gotta denounce that, and so on and so forth. Right.
Yeah. And now it's. And when something new comes up like COVID, there it is, right? You're now anti-maskers and all that. So they categorize you again, right?
The punk rockers of the 80s who went against the authority, who went against the man and all that stuff. Now it's the young people are actually not going against the man. They're going in lockstep with the man.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it was funny. Yeah. The whole anti-fascist movement. It's like, man, I've been anti-fascist since the 80s. Right. But that back then we hated communism. We hated all. I mean, it was us against Russia, man. The Soviet Union. And now you've taken the word phrase anti-fascist, and it's flipped, because who you think is a fascist is not. You
say you're an Antifa and you wear a Che Guevara shirt at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. You kids are more confused now. I get why you got pronouns and you wear unicorn shit, man. I understand that now, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about, right? It's it's so crazy. You want socialism. Who the frick wants socialism or communism, man?
Right.
You know who does? People who've never experienced it, right?
That's right.
I don't have to go down that route because everybody knows, right? I mean, that's something we've all
we talk about all the time, right? No one is ever trying to run out of America to go to another country. Everyone's trying to come here. There's nobody trying to sneak. No one's trying to sneak in, short of a one-off. Every crazy once in a while, someone sneaks across the North Korean border, does back in the 50s, whatever. Right. But no one's like going and saying, "I'm going to go move to Iran. I'm going to sneak into Iran. I want to live there. I want to move into this country."
Dude. So a good buddy of mine, Zoltan Bathory, he's Five Finger Death Punch, right? Guitarist, owner of the band, and all that stuff.
That's why you have a lot of his pictures. I saw when I Googled your name, a lot of Five Finger Death Punch, which I love the band. I'm a big fan, and I saw them. I'm like, why is Jason's name keep coming up with these pictures?
I do a lot of their photography.
Oh, okay.
And Zoltan and I are like one of his best friends, right? So
that's freaking awesome.
He grew up in Hungary, and I'll make this short. And during the communist era, right in the 80s, right? And I never forget, everybody's there. Everybody's dream was to get out of that, right, and get to America, because America was it. And I never forget, one day the Hungarian government showed a protest in Detroit, and it was, I don't even know what it was about. It's in this area 80s, whatever. I don't even know what it was about. And they were like, look, America's burning. America's going down. And they were looking at the TV, right, because they only get 3 channels, all government run, and they're all looking at each other going, wait. No one's getting shot. They're protesting and no one's getting shot. Hell yeah, we want to go to America, So that was it. They see our freedom, once again, which is our right to protest, not destroy Starbucks, but to protest, whatever. And it's like, and that's what people want, man, and people think, well, we're against immigrants. Hell no, we're not against immigrants. We just want you to do it the right way. Right? Do it how Zoltan came over here. He drove cabs. He did it the right way. Had eventually in his off time, he, built a guitar out of a coffee table, and now he's a multi-million-dollar band, whatever,
Recording artist, right.
Yeah,
right. Do it the right. There's a lot of Mexican Americans, right? Mexicans that have worked their way in and everything. And I've talked to a lot of folks that from India, people I work with, people from Mexico that are like, who hate this whole immigration thing. They're like, why do they? I mean, the number of people, and you've probably met people too that have taken the naturalization test and become citizens. They know more about this country than anyone that's been shot out here any day, right? Because they sit down, being a retired military, they expect that I know a lot about world or American history and everything, and they're like, do you know this? Do you know that? And I answer like, how how many people have no idea? I had to memorize all this to take it to become a citizen. They appreciate it, and when they go through all those hoops, especially those from Mexico, and they see the people just coming across and getting a clean ticket. Here you go. They're more pissed than anybody. People don't realize that, and the media is not going to cover it. Mexican Americans that have migrated here legally and through the system, and all the money and time it took to expect everyone to follow the same process.
Yeah,
you're
right. I'm a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu guy, right? So I roll around with sweaty men, right?
No judgment. It's 2021. No judgment.
No judgment. But my professor is a guy named Javier Torres.
I know exactly. Yeah, it's a good friend of Toby's, actually.
UFC fighter. Yeah, and he came here illegally. He'll tell you, because I jumped the border. I came over, but I worked 3 jobs. I eventually worked to get my citizenship. I did the right thing, and it was just the timing and where you had to do it. And I go, I get that. And now he owns like 3 gyms. The guy's a professional fighter, and he is an advocate for Mexicans coming across the border to do it right. He'll take them in. He'll get to make sure they get their green cards and do it right, because he knows the deal, man. And he loves this country. Just like he still loves Mexico too. He'll tell you, I'm a proud Mexican, but I love the opportunities. I would have never been able to own 3 gyms in Mexico, and and just stuff like that. I love success stories like that. I think everybody does, but yet some people, the left thinks we hate everybody who's not a natural born citizen. I don't understand that.
Right.
I hate the blue-haired punk ass kid from who goes like dad put him through college, and now he's out there burning shit down with his black backpack and all that stuff. Right? I hate that guy and his umbrella. That's who I hate. I'll tell you that straight up. I will never like that dude.
Yeah, who's not had to work for anything, and calls America the worst racist, fascist, whatever country, but has everything. But he's taking pictures with his iPhone, his $1,000 iPhone, right? And his cell plan that's paid for by his dad and everything else, right?
I know. It's crazy.
But yeah. So I mean, man, we covered a lot. I know we went a little bit. If you can go a few more minutes, if not. So I mean, there's a number of things we're not going to get to tonight that I want us to. I do want to talk a little bit though about what this whole thing from General Austin, the new Secretary of Defense, right? We've talked about for years. I mean, the 8 years under the Obama administration, we kind of felt from, putting women in combat arms, which they do not belong in for a very number of reasons we've talked about here on the show, to a number of other social experiments that our country has went through. We kind of are back to that now, right? So General Austin, we talked about him a couple weeks ago. He does not have a stellar record as a military commander. Some bad things in Syria and stuff happened on his watch. But he's put now as a Secretary of Defense, and he puts the entire Department of Defense on a 60-day stand down to rid the military of what they call extremists. And there's a lot of fighting going on. A lot of people, people watch and listen to the show, know that we have a lot of stuff going on in the world. But for those that don't, we have soldiers, I don't know the count, right? But we're soldiers being all services in a lot of countries, and a lot of them doing deadly things and risking their lives. And they have to get replaced and trained up by other soldiers that need to rotate in and all that. But they're going to stop everything to try to go after what they call extremists. The problem concern is, Jason, who's defining what this extremist is?
Right? I had to look it up. I went that I had to look up white nationalist, right? Because that's the words being thrown our way, whatever, right? And in this military, so I'm just like, well, what is it now? And this is where I get. I'm like, does a KKK guy have to look up what KKK is, right? To know he's a KKK guy. He doesn't, right? There's a guy who just hates black people, right? I'm a racist black people. Do I have to look that up? What I actually know, right? They already know. Why am I being marked as a white nationalist? Because I love my country, and I was born white.
Nothing you can do about it. That's one thing you can't change, right?
I can't change, and I you know what? And I love my country, and I'm not going to change that either, right? So if that puts me as a terrorist or whatever you want to call me, I guess I am. And then the next thing is, what are you going to do about it, right? I'm not racist. you've been downrange. You care about what color the guy next to you is? Hell no, dude. And I tell people that, like, oh, of course that's what you're going to say. That's what everybody tells me. Of course you say that. That's what all racists say.
You
no,
you know,
dude.
like I do, man. The military, if you want to talk about a diverse organization, there is no greater example than the U.S. military, right? Not only diverse in race, but diverse in cultures. Because you got a boy from Alabama with a guy from Boston, with a surfer from Southern California, that are all in the same team together, that are leaning on each other, that are freaking patching each other up, right? Yeah. And they know each other's stories. When they go home on leave, they bring each other to each other's families. There's no talk or thought of that. Is there people that look at people, they see that's a black guy, that's a Puerto Rican dude, that's a white dude, he's a redneck? Yeah, that's not racist by identifying a characteristic that you can describe him by, right?
Yeah. And that happened. I laugh at people like, I can't believe people, once again, Marine Corps is always green, dark green, light green. That's what they call you, right? Everybody's green. Okay, cool. That's great. Yeah. But, you get the guys, hey, you're a black guy, I'm a white guy. Okay. And that's it. You're literally done with that. I mean, that is, and I did 20 years. And if I experienced racism, I walked into like a supply unit or whatever, and where it's just like, say it's all black guys in there. And did I get treated different? Maybe. Do I care? No. You know what I'm saying? Did it affect me? Do I want to go cry about it on Twitter? No. And I'm sure a black guy or Hispanic guy may have experienced, but look, man, this is the freaking military, right? We kill bad people. That's our job. We keep people free, right? We keep our country free. We have to be nasty. We got to talk a lot of shit. You put a bunch of dudes together, you don't think they're going to do, hey, the white guy over here, this cracker, no one cares back then. That's the problem. Who cares? It's that punk ass kid who's in college getting his liberal art degree. He gets upset about this. But the guys online, and I literally, when all this shit's going down, man, I'm contacting my brothers that I went to combat with, who are not white dudes. Half of them, I don't even know what they are. You're Indian? I don't even know what you are. What does it matter, right? And I'm like, dude, what do you? And they're just like, they're more dumbfounded than anybody. It's like, this is stupid. This is dumb.
Now we're worrying about the names of bases, right? Fort Bragg's Fort Bragg. That's where I was born. Now it's Confederate General. Okay, that was never a topic in my 22 years, and I served at Fort Hood, and I was at, all these different places. I was at Benning, right? Never once did I go there and someone said, I can't believe they called this base Benning after General so-and-so, or really? I didn't even, and I'm a pretty good student of history, right? Yeah. I know a few, right? I know Hood was a general and this and that, but it's like, it's the same thing with this whole thing in San Francisco, right? They're changing the names of Lincoln and Washington. It's like, because they own slaves. Yeah. And who sold those slaves to America? Black people. So, sure. I mean, that was the way the times were back then. It does, it's that was the culture. They didn't know any different. They didn't know what they didn't know. So to go after people and say we've got to change the name of this base that has been the name of the base as far back as I can ever remember, before I was born, and to say we've got to change it because it offends people. Who's it offend? Nobody's ever complained about it.
I go back. I got a good friend named Buck Doyle, who a black guy, a recon guy, who's just an animal, man. He's an animal, and he'll tell you he's more against this stuff than any of us, right? He'll go, all right, cool. Show me a racist law right now. Go ahead. I'll wait. Go ahead and dig it up. Where is a racist law? There is none, right? So in other words, what I'm getting at, what he was getting at, is like, we have got rid of. Now, don't get me wrong. Back in the 60s, you go in history. Of course, there was racist law. It was wrong. We saw our mistakes as a country, and we fixed it.
We learned from it.
What do you want from us? What do you want us to do? You want, what I'm saying? I mean, why, how much, what do they call it? White guilt I got to give. I mean, dude, I don't understand it. And I'm dumbfounded, right? Because once again, I'm a father. I try to teach my kid, when I saw anything racist in the military, say there's one guy just takes it over the limit, regardless if it's black on white, Hispanic on black, it got stomped quick. Like, bro, you're crossing the line, and we're going to F you up if you don't, and it would stop, right? It would never get past that. I don't understand. And maybe there's units out there. I was in a different unit, right? We're once again a combat arms unit. Guys are worried about a little bit more than being called a cracker. You know what I'm saying? Right. We're worried about not dying and actually coming back to our families or whatever. So it's weird that it's such an offensive thing. And sometimes I'm like, why am I talking about it? Right. I'm feeding the fire by talking about it and feeding it in there to him. But it's frustrating, man, you know? And when my kid comes and asks me about it, because she don't know, right? She goes, what's going on? And it's like, I don't know how I'm going to explain this to you without, because right now, if someone called me racist, because I think that, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
well, the sad thing is we've talked about it on here a number of times. Back in the day, the worst things you could, when I did back in the day, back in the 80s, 90s, when we grew up and
Right.
stuff, the worst things you would ever call someone, right, is a racist or a Nazi. Those were
Sure.
reserved for the most
Yeah.
vile and
Yep.
worst people you ever met, right? There's still
Right.
one more word out there, the old C-bomb, right? That's pretty bad, except unless you're in Europe or Australia, they
Right.
use that
Yeah,
pretty
Australia,
loosely. But in American culture, right,
Sure.
racist and Nazi were only reserved for the. I mean, you could hate someone, you would not call them that because
Yeah.
you labeled them that. It was like you went nuclear, right?
Yeah.
Now it's thrown around in common vernacular, in songs, on the media, and daily. And unfortunately, in the last 4 years, it comes out so much. It's so diluted. It means nothing now. It means nothing. You know, it means something to people that survived the Nazi regimes. The survivors, they get huge offense to that because they're like, you have no idea what a Nazi is.
I got a
right?
question, and I have to say right now, going on record, I have never in my life met a real Nazi. I've never met a person who's part of the Nazi party, hates black people, or hates whatever. I've never met someone like that. Not saying they're out there. I'm sure they are.
Right.
But the way you throw this word around is like I should be surrounded by hundreds of them, right? I have never met somebody like that, and I don't know. Maybe I'm.
And you've been all over the place. You've met a lot of folks, right?
Yeah, I've been 30, 40 countries. I don't even know how many.
And a lot of those people in the military, which ironically, right, the current president, right, just talked about how yesterday on the town hall last night on CNN that he really thinks former military and police are the cause of the white nationalists and what's happening in this country, right? And this is the president that is writing he's saying they're contributing to the growth of white supremacy. The president whose inauguration theme was unity, right? Who's talked about he's going to be the president for all Americans. And is saying, the two genres, the two categories of citizens, military and police, that serve this country both locally in their communities and nationally, and in both places willing to lay their life down, are the proponents in growing white supremacy. How isn't that in any way helping anything?
You're destroying. You're dividing. That's all you're doing, man. I mean, I'm trying to. I got a kid that I'm trying to help put. He's going to boot camp here in a week, right? Guys from Jamaica, great kid, and I'm just like, I don't even know what to explain. I go, I'll tell you everything I can teach you going into the Marines, right? Where you're going to go, right? That part I can't teach you. I don't know what is going on, and I go, unfortunately, I'm hoping this is media bullshit. This is just stuff that feeds the fire and gets the liberals happy to see that this is being done. I'm hoping in the military, we're like, hey guys, we're going to stand down. Anyway, go clean your weapons. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. Because once again, whenever what I've seen, maybe I'm just too old school. Maybe my 20 years of 1991 to 2011, I was just naive or something, man. But whenever there was something that became an issue, it got stomped. Whether two guys going out back and making it happen, right? Fixing stuff, a little bit of wall-to-wall
counseling. That's right.
There you go. And that's what we're missing with this generation, these kids. And I said, get off my lawn. That's why I sound right now. But no one's been punched in the mouth like I was as a kid. Nothing makes you respect somebody more than getting your teeth busted. And you're like, okay.
Can't punch your mouth when you're on the keyboard in the basement. You can't punch your mouth, right?
And even in the military, man, I've been in so many damn fights in the military because I probably ran my mouth. And when I got busted out, I come with a black eye. I'm like, yeah, I think I deserve that.
Yep.
You know, and it just doesn't happen in society. Because if it does happen in society these days or in schools, you're done. You're done. Your career, your life, your school, you're over. And it's
zero tolerance, right? Everyone's
right.
Have you heard about this oath this pledge that the Navy is making the sailors do? Have you heard this?
No, I haven't heard about it.
So let me give you the first line. This is the first line. They're making sailors pledge on today active enlistment and commissioning oaths. Right. I pledge to advocate for and acknowledge all lived experiences and intersectional identities of every sailor in the Navy. That's the first sentence of about 4 sentences, right?
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it is.
Mean, is that so? If you're a pansexual unicorn supply clerk, that's cool.
Your fellow sailor will respect that and understand and acknowledge that, and give you a way for your unicorn horn to come through the berth or hole or whatever the hell it is, right? I don't know.
And that's the problem right there with people making policies and decisions that have not been in combat, have not had to rely on, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and I can go down this route all day long. All that is a distraction in combat. Yeah. You ask me, right? When I'm next to a guy or girl or whatever you want to be today, you know, and it's like, I'm a male, I'm menstruating. You're what? Yeah, okay. You know what I'm saying?
Are
It's
you
like,
bleeding? Are you wounded? Like, did you get shot or what? Like, that's all I
you want
need
a
to know.
tourniquet? I don't understand. You know, and it's like, I thank God I didn't have to deal with that. I didn't. I'm old school. I didn't have to deal with that.
There's so many of my buddies that have retired that I served with in Afghanistan all the time. It is constantly, so glad I'm out. So glad I'm retired. So glad I'm done. I mean,
and it sucks because I like being in. I like fighting. I like doing all that stuff. I like the pain. I told you earlier, like I'm a sucker. I'm really good at suffering in silence, right? I'm one of those guys. But if I had to deal with that, I'm trying to think in these days, I'm like, man, I would be out, full and gone, bro. I'm done. You know, I just can't deal with that, man. And I'm there to fight and defend my country and do all that. You know,
find, fix, destroy the enemy. That is the job of the military.
100%.
Right? It is not. You know? It is not as much as people want it to be. It is not digging wells and building schools and doing that stuff. Which is why we've had such a struggle in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? Because you know you've been there, I was there, where you went one day, you were running and gunning, and the next day they're like, hey, hand out books and teddy bears and you're like, wait, what? Like that's you've trained me from the days in basic training when we were talking about kill, and blood makes the green grass grow. To hand out, you know, help that person get their get their cow immunized and make sure the little girl has a school to go, which is awesome and it's admirable. But that's not. It's a bastardization of our military. It's not what they're meant for, right?
And one day, if we keep going down this route, I'll be the first guy to say it right now. We're going to get our asses kicked. What
do we see in history, man? The start of every big war, we takes we get put on our heels a little bit. It takes us a little bit to, and we take a few head knocks to the head, and we lose some, which translates into we lose some soldiers, servicemen, airmen, Navy, Marines. Before we get our stuff together, kind of shake it off, and we're like, okay, we got to fix this, right? We go back in, right? We see it after every major war. We see a downsizing in the start. We saw it at the start of World War II. We saw it in Vietnam. We saw it in a number of places where, you know, we do not learn our lesson. We act like the last war was the last one, and we start turning, you know, away from it.
And people don't realize, look, war ain't going out throwing a few Molotov cocktails at some cops with some umbrellas on top so you don't get your laser and somebody, and then going home and playing Pokemon at the end of the night. We don't do that. War is nasty. Yes. It is gross. It is. You're going to see dead babies. You're going to see I tell people it is the ugliest of the ugliest, and you have to mentally train that way. And right now, caring about your freaking purple unicorn fucking horn coming out of your head, I don't have time for this. I need to go be able to kill this guy to keep everybody free, right? Or to accomplish the mission. That is my job. And it's like, we got to stop softening the military. And once again, I say this, I sound like, I'm an old dude. I feel like an old, you know, Korean vet, you know, yelling at me when I was in my 80s. But it's true, man. You have to be nasty. And I know we're in the world of drones and you know, and guys can sit back in a Connex box and kill 20 people with a joystick. I get that. But you're always going to need boots on the ground. Right. You're always going to need people to go clean that shit up, man. Right?
We saw that in Afghanistan in 2001, 2002, right? We had to put those horse soldiers out there. They had to do it. We saw that in Iraq in 2003. We could bomb the crap out of them. We saw it in Iraq when I was here in Desert Storm. We could air bomb the crap out. We eventually had to roll in. Right. Yeah. Eventually, someone has to clear those trenches.
You have to, and it's nasty, and it's not fun,
and it's definitely not fair. And it's definitely not fair.
You're going to see the worst of humanity at that point, man. I remember sitting in Iraq at one point. Little quick story. We roll up, and a flight of Cobras, and I think 3-5, which is infantry unit, about 2 hours prior, wiped out about over 200 Iraqis in fighting holes, right? And these guys probably didn't want to be there in the first place, right? Whatever. They're all dead. I'm sitting in the middle of 200 bloated, dead, cut up, shot up. But you think a flight of Cobras just destroyed these guys, right? And whatever came out of the holes, they just got shot up. And I'm just looking at this, and I'm like, the normal civilian, this will put people in a hospital with PTSD. You know what I'm saying? This will just destroy people. Guess what? I got to roger that. That's great. I spent 2 hours here smelling these guys. I got to go drive on. And then I got to, operate civilian. So in civilian capacity, when I get done and get out, you got to have that mentality. You got to have that shit where I tell people that I go, it's a different world, man. You know, dude. I'm preaching to the choir here.
But our listeners need, and a lot of them know too, but they need to hear. I mean, it's not clean. It's not a video game. You don't hit the reset button and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it is. When I was in Desert Storm, right? Same thing. I re-rolled through as we crossed in the LD, right? Apaches and Cobras smoking targets and coming up, and I was seeing bodies in conditions I could never have imagined. Definitely not like anything I've ever seen in the movie to this day, right? Yeah. And I saw the same thing when I was in Afghanistan in 2006, right? You see bodies and see things, and you see, like you said, the worst of mankind,
Yes.
but at the same time, you see some of the best of mankind in these horrific conditions, because they come out. But it is, and it does. It smells. It is. I mean, I've had probably you have, and I tell people sometimes they're like, "Oh, sorry, this is kind of gross." I'm like, "This ain't gross." Like I've had my hands up in people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right,
and not in a good way, right?
And that's and we have to have a military that's be able to perform like that, right?
It takes a lot to train an 18-year-old. We're trained. I tell people the military is great at training 18, 19, 20-year-olds to throw away all they've learned in their culture and take another human life. And by the way, not feel emotion about it. The military is the best at training people how to do that, right?
Yeah.
What they're not best to do is how do you unwind that and bring that back, right?
They've messed that up a lot.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what we see.
Biggest problem.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, we have to build strong-minded people, man.
Right.
That need to go in our military. Not everybody. I get it, man. If you're an admin guy in the Air Force, you're probably not going to see what we've seen or whatever. And that's fine. You chose that. But there are people out there that we need pipe hitters. We need guys out there, snake eaters, that when it's time to go do something nasty and shoot someone in the face in the name of freedom, go. That's all I need to say is go, do it, and it's done. He doesn't want to second guess. Well, maybe this guy. Nope, don't second guess anything. And it's hard to do that with an administration that's coming down and doing these safety stand downs because, hey, you're an asshole. Something's wrong with you because your skin color,
or puts more lawyers on the battlefield than pipe hitters, right? When you got a lawyer everywhere you turn, that's making you second guess and question, and which causes leaders, and we're probably good leaders, start to question every decision they make and think that they're going to throw their whole life away because they made a decision, right? The military years ago, and really in the late 90s, developed this zero tolerance mentality where it's like you can't make a mistake. So what we were doing was, rather than awarding and recognizing people for taking risks and being innovative, we're awarding them to come back with every single person and with every single dollar and every this, and don't make a mistake, don't lose one thing, don't lose one person. And I know that sounds crass to some, right? But you're out there to kill people, which means people are going to die and get wounded. Yeah. But we said, no, hey, we're going to give you the top rating on your evaluation because you took your whole company or platoon or whatever into a combat zone for a year. You hit out in a fob as best you could, and you brought them all back. You were a success. No, you weren't. Yeah, right.
I agree. Yeah, it's trippy, man. I'm telling you, it's like, and I'm doing my best not to be the angry old man, but it's scary, man, because this is my country, man. This is what you did 22 years to defend. I did 20 years to defend. And I just wanted to, I want to follow my Constitution, right? Because that's what we signed up. We put our hands up and, swore upon, and just all I want. And people are trying to change it that are 22-year-old bartenders or 20, whatever she is, right? You know what I'm saying? That have no freaking clue. You go back to me, you ask me, I think to be a politician, you need to have been a former cop or in the military. I just think that's a requirement, if you ask me. And people disagree all the time with me, and that's fine. But I think you need to have, if you're going to make policy changes and laws and stuff like that affect those guys, don't you need to? I don't go to.
I'm going to give you one up on that. I'm going to give you one up on it. My oldest son's a combat medic, and he did 6 years and everything. And he always calls it the Starship Troopers mentality, right? Yeah. To be a real citizen, you've got to do 2 years of service of any kind. Doesn't have to be military, doesn't be whatever. It could be in your local community, it could be whatever. Sure. But before you become a full-blown U.S. citizen, which means the right to vote and all these different rights and things, to buy a house and all that stuff, 2 years giving back to your community or country. And in the movie, that's what they do, right? You got to go do service.
That movie, by the way.
Yes.
One of my favorites, I love it. Yeah.
Rather than just being born here and you have the rights to go make any vote you want or do this or do whatever, put a little skin in the game. It could only be 2 years, right?
Well, and that's the thing. I'll listen to you. Right. I'll listen to you, congressman or congresswoman, if you have a little bit of experience. I don't go tell a welder, man, your welds look like shit. How you do? Oh, I've never welded, but you just looks like shit. That's the last thing I do. I'm gonna get punched in the face, right? Yeah. So and so I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Or some type of, or at least attempt it. Cause I get it. Not everybody can do it because of medical and all that stuff. But hey, I want to see that you went down and you tried to get in. At least give me something, right? You know what I'm saying? And you ain't gonna do it. Or a police, or maybe even a support role. Just something that supports.
It could be in a nonprofit in your community, right? It could be it could be feeding homeless. It could be doing something to just but at least you put some skin in the game, say, I have ownership of this, and I did my
Right.
best to make my country, my community, my city better. And
Sure.
then now I've earned the right to enjoy all the freedoms and guarantees of this country, because they're going to mean that much more, right?
And I agree. But yet we have these bartenders that turn congresswomen, right, that will talk shit to actually disable wounded vets that are in Congress as well. And I've seen it, and I'm not defending Crenshaw or anybody like that, but she attacks him all the time. People talk shit about him losing his eye. I'm like, are you kidding me? This guy gave up his an eyeball for you, right? But you want to go, and just because you bartended, you know everything. Well, you know nothing.
Him or Massey or even Tom Cotton, even guys that haven't lost anything, right? That have just served, right? Or something, and not served in Congress. That's not service, right? Because they're not sacrificing anything. But hey, we've been going a while. We've literally calling up on 2 hours, dude. I'm sorry for taking you this long.
I run my mouth all day, dude. This is easy for me.
You are not shy at all. Hey, I can tell you right now, and for our listeners, viewers that are still tuned in, I know Rob worked for a while to get you on. I definitely want to get you back on again. We have when Toby's back in, there's a number of things we didn't get to, and by tomorrow there'll be all new topics. But whenever we can get you back on, we'd love to have you on and talk more stuff.
Anytime,
because
and back at you, man. I gotta get you guys on our show, man. It's Skill Set Live, dude. That'd be great, man.
We'd love it. Yeah,
it'd be awesome, man. We love talking to like-minded people, because once again, you got we're all at kind of that same level, but you got different viewpoints, man. And I pick those up and I use those sometimes too, because that's how life works, right?
Right.
I don't know why people don't understand that, but that's how life works. You learn from other people and you use that in your life experiences. But dude, I enjoyed being on the show. This is amazing, man. I had a great time. I can't believe it's 2 hours already.
I know.
I'm sure people are sick of me running my mouth, but that's
the feedback and stuff has been great. I've been getting personal texts and all kind of stuff. Okay. Hey, I don't know if you've heard. I want to mention though, we were talking about earlier about the racism thing. I don't know if you've heard of this Canadian-born rapper Tom McDonald.
Yeah, the woke. I saw it was
fake woke.
Fake woke. Brandon Tatum. He goes, check this guy out. Check him out.
So he's got another one called White Boy, which is kind of it's kind of goes along the same thing, right? It's definitely worth a listen. I'm a big fan of his now. I started going back listening to all this stuff, and
that's awesome.
And it kind of reminds me a lot of Toby, because he's from Canada originally, and this dude seems to be super patriotic. He's slamming back, and I mean he just came out with the new single a couple days ago called "Canceled." He does everything in singles. I mean, he's got People So Stupid, No Lives Matter, Politically Incorrect, Everybody Hates Me. I mean, his stuff is pretty solid, so definitely worth the listen. So
and that's great. And the guy's not afraid of being canceled either. He's putting that out. I think he's doing well in charts as well.
Yeah, and it's him and his wife produce everything. He is nobody else. He does all the music, everything, writes it all, and him and his wife do it all. He's not beholden to anybody else.
God bless that guy, man.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need guys out there that are not afraid. Like I said, that 21-year-old fucking college student that's going to yell at me and spit in my face. He's not afraid of that.
Right.
I've seen worse. Bring it.
Yes.
What are you going to do, right? So that's great that there's artists out there, and I know a bunch of, like I said, even Five Finger Death Punch, same thing, man.
Those dudes are great. Yeah.
Patriotic is patriotic. Tommy Vex from Bad Wolves. Actually, he had to leave Bad Wolves, which is just because of his political views, right? And the guy is as solid as a rock, man. The guy he doesn't waver. I don't care. I'll leave the band. I'll start my own stuff. Because the band can keep going, because people want to cancel. But we need people that can stand up and fight, man. We got to quit being nice guys, right? That's it.
Right.
We try to be nice guys, and we see where it got us.
Yeah, that's right. Nowhere. It's gotten us absolutely nowhere. But yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jason, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Where can people find you? I want to make sure we get a chance, how can they subscribe and that kind of stuff? Where are they going to find you in the socials? Yeah,
look, man, even on social media, it's at Skill Set Mag on everything, right? Instagram, we're kind of hot. That's where we're at. That's where I'm 90% of the time, I'm the guy, the idiot on the feed, putting stuff in there, and then had to delete it sometimes because my boss gets mad or whatever. But no, I don't do it all the time. But it's so at Skill Set Mag on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then of course skillsetmag.com. Guys, go check it out. We do daily update content, just stories. If you're a writer and you like our content, great, get a hold of me, man. You email me anytime, DM me. We're always looking for writers. We pay shitty, but we pay. But but we're always looking at different voices, because my biggest thing with Skill Set was not to get tunnel vision, right?
Right.
Not to fall in that fatal funnel where we only get these are the only views, right? Hell no, man. We bring in everybody that if you got a good point, and once again, it may not all be guns and tough guy stuff. Sometimes we do pulp culture stuff, man. It's fun stuff. But once again, I try to broaden everybody's, base here a little bit, and so skillsetmag.com, you can subscribe to our magazine. 4 issues a year. It's pretty cheap, cheaper than a Hallmark card, by the way, right? Wow. You're getting 120 pages and go Hallmark card. You got what, one? Come on. Anyway, so it's like $5.99. Anyway, but fun magazine, and it's user influence, man, right? Reader influence. You like to see something, hit me up. We're going to look into it, try to get it done, man. So I appreciate all your guys out there, all your fans and your listeners and watchers and all that stuff. Thank you guys. And look, man, I hope we build this community, man. We're strong together, right?
That's right. That's right. And
so
we have, as we've found tonight, we already have connections, right? It's I always call it small army stories, but it's small military stories, right? We know the same people. Yeah, we run the same circles. But hey, again, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for bringing us into your ears and on your screens for 2 hours tonight, February 18th. It was a long show, but I'm sure you've been staying entertained the whole time. Be sure and check out Skill Set Mag. Rob has put a whole bunch of links up in the chat, and we'll be back next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Stu and the Nunn. Jason, stay on. We're going to chat a little bit in the virtual green room afterwards. Everyone have a good night and stay safe and stay warm. Big prayers to our friends down in Texas. A lot of them are suffering right now. A lot of good friends and coworkers and stuff. So our prayers going out to them and to the family of Rush Limbaugh. So with that, everybody have a great night. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.